I love Mike Hanson Archives.
You're ready to run.
So I say this to the militias and all others who believe that the greatest threat to freedom comes from the government. If you appropriate our sacred symbols for paranoid purposes and compare yourselves to colonial militias who fought for the democracy you now rail against, you are wrong. How dare you call yourselves patriots and heroes? If you say the government is in a conspiracy to take your freedom away, you are just plain wrong. There is no freedom.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of a new world order.
New world order does not mean surrendering our national sovereignty or forfeiting our interests.
That America's central bank operates in the public interest. The truth is that the Federal Reserve is a private bank owned by private stockholders and run purely for their private profit. Any doubt whether the Federal Reserve is a part of the U.S. government, check your local telephone book. In most cities, it is not listed in the blue government pages. It is listed in the business white pages right next to Federal Express, another private company. But more directly, U.S. courts have ruled time and time again that the Fed is a private corporation.
Today, we're all going to learn a new term. It's only 2 words. Now listen closely. Can all of you say constructive fraud?
Constructive fraud!
Did you ever get the feeling as you're staring at the ceiling that this game of life we're playing ain't fair? Seems as fast as we can make it, there's a hand that grabs and takes it till they find us in a grave somewhere. Like a rodent on a treadmill, we keep pushing for it uphill, but we never seem to get too far. Well, if you think you're being taken, then you're ready to awaken to the truth of what we really are. We're all indentured servitude slaves, overburdened and bewildered feudal knaves, who have lost our sole posterity through ignorance and apathy, and now we're being taxed out of our graves. And as long as we stay passive, we'll succumb, contented with some socialistic crumb. Well, the naked truth and fact is we're all saps who pay our taxes, and that is why the banksters keep us dumb. Could the state of our condition be the product of omission, what we didn't learn in public schools? And did our fathers all through history all fight and die for liberty so we could play the tyrant's fools? And can you call it education when it's all indoctrination to obey the hidden powers that be? Did we fight the revolution? Did we win the world wars just to slumber into slavery? We're all indentured servitude slaves, overburdened and bewildered feudal knaves, who have lost our sole posterity through ignorance and apathy, and now we're being taxed out of our graves. And as long as we stay passive, we'll succumb, contented with some humanistic crumb. Well, the naked truth and fact is we're all saps who pay those taxes, and that is why the banksters keep us dumb. While Franklin and Eleanor were telling us they hated war, they made a deal behind our backs. They said the bankers could enslave us for a portion of our wages, and today we call it income tax. But what they failed to tell us was the way they planned to sell us into statutory slavery. Now it's called constructive fraud. Some even claim the wrath of God. I call it social insecurity. Let's stop being indentured, servitudal slaves, overburdened and bewildered feudal knaves, and reclaim our lost posterity. Rise up and proclaim liberty. It's high time we rock the boat and make some waves. 'Cause as long as we stay passive, we'll succumb. They'll starve us on their communistic crumb. And the naked truth and fact is, we don't have to pay those taxes. Yes, it's time we show those banksters, those international gangsters. So let's turn the tables and spoil all their fun.
That's all.
I guess we're ready.
Filled his head.
If you would like more information on what happened at Waco, stay tuned to Jeff Davis. We'll bring you the latest proceedings. Is that okay?
Fine.
They know what to say.
Yeah. Mike, sing it again.
Okay, and I'll do it.
Can you do it?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Blue,
And I'm Casey.
and you're watching the Jeff Davis Show.
It comes on every Monday night at 7:30 sharp on Channel 10.
And he knows what's up, so don't miss it.
Exactly.
Hello, Austin, Texas. We are back. I guess we're looking in the right camera. All righty, folks. The tally lights down here did not work, so we're kind of guessing which camera to look at here. All right, folks. Let me just mention, first off, we've got a lot of activities going on for tonight, and later on in the program, we're going to be talking about a case that involves a Mr. Charles Ellingson. His actual name is, we call him Roland down here at the ship program. And he had received a letter from the Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department. You know, them people that are there to take good care of us. Basically, I'm reading it right here. Mr. Ellingson, this informs you that a condition is in violation of ordinance that exists on property located at his property in accordance with section 1021, 1022, 1023, and 1024 of the Code of the City of Austin. And that goes on, blah, blah, blah. Please mow and clear high grass and weeds. Remove rubbish, trash, and debris. Remove within the time period indicated, or you may be subject to legal action and liability for the cost of clearing this property by the city and additional administrative fees. Now, folks, what we have here is, understand we're ready with the slate. Okay, let's get a. We're going to be doing this later on in the program. We're going to be talking about this. We're going to get a close-up of this. We've got some footage of the property, and we also went. Some of the crew went and talked to some of the neighbors.
Hold it right there.
And
Switch the camera.
And okay, right there it is, folks. This is from the city health department. You know, that department that's taking good care of us.
Their property's worse than his. We went and got
And then we've got footage of the actual property of the city agency that's directing enforcement for him to mow his grass or face potential legal action. And we've got this liens and everything else. We've got this coming up. It should be quite interesting, folks. Now, we've talked about on this program in the past, probably in the last 6-7 months or so, about car. And I was doing on my radio program. I was doing some study for the Karl Marx and his writings, and basically his philosophies for the Communist Manifesto, and how the government would create a central bank, a graduated income tax, free government schooling, public education. One of the planks, the 10th plank, in fact, if we could put that up, I'd appreciate it. The 10th plank, folks, of the communist. Now, how many times have we heard people say that we have to have laws and permits and fees and ordinances, and we need the EPA? We did a story about 6-7 months back on the floodplain zones in Onion Creek here in Travis County, and of course property taxes. Now, so this is basically, folks, anybody that this is absolute proof. If we could put that back up there, I want people to see that clearly. This, my friends, is absolute proof that there is an enemy within the confounds of this so-called government, this de facto corporate government that's ruling over us right now. This is the actual 10th plank of Karl Marx's philosophy on communism. And you can see that it's government control of private property. And they use various mechanisms and devices to do this. But the fact is, it's based upon permits, ordinances, the EPA, through environment, through the BCCP, different, and we see now that we can't even trust them with that, because a lot of the national parks that we paid for supposedly are being turned over to unelected bodies. Put that back up there, folks. I want to see that. I want people to I want that to absorb in the minds of the people that may call up here during this program and defend what's happening to people's properties, whether it be the floodplain down here in Onion Creek, where they're not issuing permits and they're ordering people to raise their level of their house, or through property taxes, which is stealing somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to 300 people's properties in Central Texas alone each month. But these are the different issues. These are the different areas where the so-called government is controlling us. Now, keep in mind, just keep it up there, but keep in mind that there are other planks to this philosophy of communism, which is one of the mechanisms that the world's rulers have implemented to control the masses. But the problem is, many people don't recognize that this is actually what's happening, and this is in fact what is happening. So when we get to that piece with the, I think you'll find it interesting. We got some interesting footage, and I think you'll find the whole thing is, the whole story is kind of interesting on that regards. It's the Austin Health and Travis County, the so-called health department, environmental health department, is threatening to put a privileged lien on this fellow's property. And we've also got an interview with this man coming up. Now, secondly, I want to say hi to a couple of new viewers that I was told about, and that would be Oscar and Joy. apparently they're first-time live viewers of the program, and we want to say hello to them. So hello to, we always welcome new viewers down here, people that open-minded. Also, we've had several callers over the last 3 or 4 weeks wanting me to address the issue, the issue of that's in Romans 13 in the Bible, New Testament. Romans 13 talks about a situation where God has ordained the authorities to basically rule over us, and to and if we're supposed to bow down and submit to these authorities because it's ordained by God, and God has given them the power, these authorities, to kill with a sword anybody that basically doesn't bow down to the authorities. And I guess since I seem to be somewhat anti-establishment and appearing and have a talk show on a Christian radio program, Christian radio station, they want to know how I respond to that. And the response is very simple, folks. First off, this country was founded as we the people. Now you have to understand that. We the people are the authority. Not King George or King Bill. We the people, this country was founded as are the sovereigns, are the kings, and it's that simple. So it also gave us in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, whatever, the ability, if this government should ever step out of line, it also gave us the ability, we the people, to abolish that government that steps out of line. So this is the answer to that question. You have to put it in a perspective to what the country was founded upon and where we're at today, and then take the biblical verse as such. In other words, we were not meant to ever live our lives here in America as slaves. This is the type of oligarchical system that this country was founded upon. The British were, through the Bank of England, had created a monarchy and was robbing and ruling over the people. And this is what the American Revolution was all about. So we the people are the sovereign kings and the authority. We are the government. We are the authority. We're supposed to be. Since that was over 200 years ago, and since I maintain that authority has been taken away from us, and we're now living under a dictatorship, that this biblical verse has been turned in reverse. So understanding that we were granted the authority, we are the kings, we are the sovereigns, and we have the ability to take with the sword the ability to destroy any form of government that is not responsive to we the people, we the kings. So this is the answer to Romans 13, folks. No way can you find anywhere in the Bible where God intends for His people to live out their lives on this planet as slaves. In fact, the first time that the Israelites tried to get a king, the Lord told them, no, you don't need a king. I'm your king. If you go out and you get a human king, you're just going to end up enslaved like all these the Philistines and the Amorites and all the other different ites that were back in the Old Testament. But the fact is, God told us, His people, that not to get a king, to stay with Him as king, and that He would provide for us. Otherwise, if you go seek another king, He would eventually enslave you. And this is exactly what happened in Assyria and many of these other ancient biblical cities. Keep in mind that God did not intend us to live our life as slaves. Otherwise, He would have not sent Moses into Egypt to free His people out of bondage that had been in bondage for some 400 years. And there we are. There we are, folks, with shackles on us. This is not what Romans 13 is implying. This is not what God intends for us to be living under communism or some type of global utopian village that the current world rulers have planned for us. God did not intend us to live this way. He intended us to have our minds free, our lives to live free, and again, there's several instances in the Bible where He delivered His people out of bondage. So this whole business and this whole thing about Romans 13 and how we should bow down to the authorities and all this is all coming out of your World Council of Churches and your organized, your man-made religions that is man-made and not God-made. Keep in mind, folks, organized religion is not made from God; it's made from man. And unfortunately, the world's rulers have their claws in it and have had their claws in it. Through the seminaries and the various types of training centers that they send the would-be pastors and church leaders of today to. They themselves are brainwashing them to project certain thoughts and processes, which is just another form of their enslavement. That's part of the spiritual enslavement that the world's rulers have imposed upon the masses. So that answers Romans 13. We are the kings, folks. This country was set up as we the kings and not King George or King Bill or anybody that's financing them. Okay, I also want to mention here, let's see, that we, right now, they're fixing to renew the contracts down here at ACAC. And as it stands, we're going to this show is going to go ahead and submit for another series. Hopefully we'll get it, and hopefully we'll get the same time frame, but we don't know. So you could be seeing all of your access shows moving to different dates and different times, depending upon how this the new series unfolds. I want to mention too that on August 25th. Or Sunday, August 24th is actually the third seminar that's going on. It's called it's being called Downsizing Government, and it's at 7300 North IH35, the Chariot Inn. The last I heard, yours truly was scheduled to speak there, and for all intents and purposes, if we're invited, we'll more than likely be there. So. And in fact, we ran a copy of my speech on this program, I believe last week, or maybe the week before last. But also, with that, can we go ahead? Oh, let me just plug our P.O. box. We've been getting a lot of mail, folks, and we appreciate the mail. We are going to have a show coming up here within the next month or so. It's just a matter of getting energy to put it together. But we're going to have a show on solutions. We actually received 3 or 4 letters from people that had thought they had some ideas on how we could again become a free people. Now, what I want to turn it into is a seminar, not just how to deal with our current Babylonian empire that we're caught up in, but as a solution for all different types of issues. For one, I'm going to try to quit smoking, and I think it should include different types of alternative medicines, alternative health care, a lot of different issues, and what we need to do and get the time to do it is get a bunch of people together that can help us in this process. And I just basically haven't had the time to do it with my work schedule, and we've got a radio show now that we're working on, different things that we've got going, but we are going to have a solution show for 3 hours. We're going to get that done.
You want help with the solution?
If you have any comments on it or questions on any of this, or if you got any ideas, you can write us at Jeff Davis Show, P.O. Box 19061, Austin, Texas 78760, and you can call our comment line at 370-9558. If you have any ideas, if you know any guests that may be able to appear, I'm particularly looking for people that might know a little bit about alternative health care, maybe herbs as alternative means for instead of the pharmaceuticals, alternative energy sources, all types of different areas that allows us, the people, to become more independent from the quote-unquote system that we're caught up in. So this is, we want to do this, it's just a matter of getting that together. Also want to mention one thing that I've been talking about the last couple of weeks. It has now come to my attention, folks, that if you remember sometime last year, I think it was on April or May of last year, '96, the FBI and the BATF did a national sweep on the street gangs. And this is something I've been talking about now for a couple of years, and it seems like, folks, that this is coming into focus here. It seems, and now the national media is starting to get involved with this, and they're starting to tell us what a great idea this is. But folks, they're going to start. The idea is, if we could freeze it right there. Okay, right there. This is part of your global regime right here. We're going to put that up there, and we're going to freeze it so you all can see what we're talking about here. We have several pictures of this, and we want to just show it to you all so you can decide for yourself whether this is theory or not. The fact is, it seems that the global regime may now be putting some of the riffraff of society into law enforcement. Now, if you look at this picture here, folks, this is see, they're all dressed in black. This is very similar to the Inquisition of the Catholic Church back in the 1500s. But if you look at the picture there, if you look at the picture there, folks, you will see that these fellas are in fact wearing ski masks, and this is supposedly law enforcement. Now, the next question you have to ask is, and this is apparently going on all over now. Popular Mechanics the last couple of months did a story about how the elite LA SWAT team, they had a picture of them in the front page about this being the elite LA SWAT team, and that they all had, there was 3 or 4 of them that had ski masks covering their identities. Now anybody with any sense has to look at that scene right there and decide for themselves whether they think that's in the best interest of the country. To have people busting into people's homes, covering their identities, wearing ski masks. In this situation, how do we know that these are law enforcement? How do we even know they're Americans that are covering and shrouding their identities, donning ski masks? So this is a reality that we face, and these are just one of the mechanisms, of course, that the world rulers of today are imposing upon us. And they use things like the drug wars and the different communist, fascist laws that they come up with, the laws that are in our best interest. They're now going to the point of sending people in with ski masks to come in and enforce their laws. Now, one thing I want to talk about here, and this is actually an ancient plan of that goes back to 1776 with Adam Weishaupt, who founded a doctrine called the Order of the Illuminati. Can we get a close-up of this? Is it possible? Okay, let's go ahead and get a close-up of this. It's basically talking about what is this New World Order, and basically what is the plan of the ages. And if we could just get a close-up of this out of appreciate. Okay. Basically, the first category here is in the economics. And we're going to be getting into more of this as we go into our area of Roland Ellingson and his situation. Let's go ahead and put it on there. Is she not doing it anymore? Okay, here we go. Right there we go. Whoops. We could just get a close-up of this. I think it'd be better if folks just could read the stated objectives of what's happening here. Okay, now right there it is, folks. What if we're actually having some technical difficulties here. But right there, if you all can just read that. Now just get a real close-up. There you go. Now get a close-up of the first one there. Keep a little bit more, Linda. I appreciate it.
That's as far as it goes.
That's it?
Yeah.
Economics. An absolute controlled market. Any form of free market economy is not in the best interest of the NWO. Real money must also be eliminated and replaced with electronic transfers of debits and credits. The debit cards, and smart cards preferably. There'll be no private ownership, and we'll get into this later on in the program when we get to our piece about the Austin Health and Human Services Department. They're going to take good care of this fellow's property by throwing a lien on his property for not cutting his grass. But there'll be no private ownership of anything. All property will be held in trust by individuals for the enhancement of the state. Isn't that nice? This is so loving, isn't it? It's just so very loving, folks, that they're going to take such good care of us. We can move on down here to the political here, Linda. Abolishment of the U.S. Constitution stands between the people as individuals and totalitarian rulers. These guardians, a la Plato's Republic, need to be given full reign as administrators of the people. We've already seen a lot of this, folks. I mean, Clinton and the boys are literally just doing at will with us as they see fit, sending our folks over to Bosnia or whatever the... Keep in mind, the big issue of the day is in the so-called budget is a $500 tax credit that they're giving to the kids. And that's the big issue with all of the problems that we have. These are the surface type issues that issues of no significance that they feed us, and that's the big national news is the huge debate over getting a $500 tax credit if you have kids. Nationalities, and number 3, individuality must fade away. The NWO will resist anything that fosters self-expression, self-interest, self-pursuits, self-determination. No national patriotism, no resistance.
Renaissance.
Now they put a thing over the... No renaissance of ethics, identification. And they're already have done a lot of this. They've taken culture and history out of the public school systems. Remember, we all need to be as one, and there's no differences amongst any of us, and all the kids are taught at one particular sphere of thought, and there's only like a half a dozen publishers that are allowed to that the government training centers are allowed to get their books from. So this is a lot of keep in mind, folks, a lot of this has already been done. This is not something down the road, or but a lot of this has already been in place. Religions. This isn't really hardcore enough for me, but it talks about certain churches will be allowed for a good source of promoting virtue and industry, but the divinity of men must prevail. This ties into your 501c corporations and the IRS attaching favorable tax exemptions to churches that preach favorable doctrine and this kind of thing. Also, keep in mind, as I mentioned, the majority of your organized religion teachings comes from seminaries and from organizations such as the World Council of Churches and the National Council of Churches, which are financed by the rulers, created and financed by the rulers. So this is part of the spiritual enslavement that, so you've got the economic, you've got the spiritual, and then of course through the statutory, you have the tremendous laws, like I say, through the Communist Manifesto and the guidelines such as the Communist Manifesto. We see the different laws being implemented. Okay, moving on here to number, if we could bring it back up here a minute. Moving on here to number 4, starting at a very early age. Now what would this be? Head Start? Remember Head Start? Starting at a very early age, the children are to be trained in the fundamentals of the NWO. They must be separated from the traditions of the past and programmed for usefulness in their future station in the NWO. And this is already being done. Basically, you either fit in the welfare scheme, you fit in the work scheme. You're a corporate slave. You work for the government. You work inside their mechanism. But all of us are going to be taxed. We're going to have our properties regulated, etc., etc., ad nauseum. Now, number 6 here, families will be allowed children who are considered a resource to have families. I can't read it here. Families will be allowed, and children who are considered a resource of the NWO will remain with their biological families as long as they promote servitude in the NWO. Women, instead of being honored, will be reduced to equality with men. Now, we're already seeing a lot of this taking place. 7 here is a very key element, mobility. And we're seeing this through smart highways, the new driver's license scanning technology that is being implemented, busing, high-speed rail. But basically it says mass transit will be a basic mode of travel, having one's papers in order. We're seeing this through insurance, through registration, driver's licenses, road use fees. The display of proper identification will be necessary before individual travel can be allowed. And this is well, there's the old Skull and Bones insignia. But if we could take it up to the top, Linda, and show these folks the goals right here. Just get that right there. Right on. Just keep going up with it. There you go. This is your. This is what that's all about, folks. It's something that this program has been talking about for a long time, and as you can see, many of the policies and procedures of the global regime are already in place. And I think it also ties into. That's good enough. It also ties into the issue that we're going to be focusing on later on in the program with Roland Ellingson, who has received a letter, if we could get a close-up of this again, for people just now tuning in, from your friendly Austin Health and Human Services Department. You know, those guys that want to take good care of us. Just make sure you mow your lawn, though, folks, or they could take your house from you. Austin Health and Human Services Department received a letter, or this fellow received a letter where we've got footage of it coming up here later in the program, that if he either submitted to their ordinance, or he could risk losing his property. And under the basically it says here he's telling him he needs to mow and clear his high grass and weeds, remove rubbish, trash, and debris, remove objectionable material. And we've got some footage coming up here, folks, to show you this. And then we've also got some footage to show you the facility that's mandating this enforcement. And I think you'll be surprised to see it. Once again, folks, let me just put up the 10th plank again. For all you all that may call up, now I know that a lot of times we don't have a lot of resistance down here, frankly, because anybody that watches this program knows that you're not going to get away with anything with me, because your arguments are based upon lies, and the truth can cut through all the lies in the world. Just because if you're brainwashed and duped by the lies, if somebody that has clear understanding of the enemy and their mechanisms can cut right through it. If you call up and support what's happening to this fellow's property, if you call up and support what happened in the Onion Creek with the floodplain, this is what you're supporting. This is what you're endorsing. The 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto as written by Karl Marx. And of course this system of control has been very much implemented in America today. It has been for a long time. This is not something that that's coming down the road or anything like this. This has been in place now for a long time. Now, keep in mind, folks, a legitimate government that really was concerned about its people could legitimately say, folks, you're building your home in a floodplain. We're going to advise you that if you build your home there, that this may happen, and leave it at that. Now, that's the government that's concerned about us. That's a government that is actually, maybe looking out in our best interest by giving us warning signals. But it's not a friendly government. It is, in fact, a dictatorial, coercive, bureaucratic, communist, fascist, totalitarian government that comes in there and orders you to do on your property what they tell you to do. In other words, if you fit inside a floodplain that they have designed, they call it a floodplain, and you happen to own your home in that property, they could, of course, advise you that it may not be in your best interest and leave it at that. But when they step across that boundary and say, if you do not adhere to what we're telling you because you live in this floodplain, we're going to take your property, we're going to devalue your home by not allowing you to issue permits, whatever. This has now gone beyond a government that's looking out in your best interest. This is now a coercive, self-serving, perpetrating government that's basically is using the American people as prey and is preying upon the American people. And let me tell you something, folks. They might appear to be nice, friendly policies, but the fact is, what it amounts to is wolves in sheep's clothing. And you know what happens to sheep if they continue to allow wolves to devour over them. They get turned into lamb chops. And that's essentially what's happening every time that you say that you... now this goes beyond even the people that... this actually even serves the people that are currently within the mechanism, the ones that are creating the laws. They themselves, once they're out of office, the majority of them are going to submit their laws to the same totalitarian policy that they were brainwashed into implementing while they were in office. And they themselves are going to become the sheep, ultimately going to be devoured by the wolves and the rulers who are implementing these fascist policies by controlling resources at the top and filtering out all the resources all the way down to the local levels. So they themselves are expendable and don't actually understand what they're doing and what's happening to them. Now, I want to go ahead next and run. We have a 5-minute piece on my speech that we did in the seminar. This is separate from the one we did last week. This was actually during the question and answer period. And when we get back from that, we're going to go ahead and run a piece from John Trockman. What's the name of that one? It's the biochemical warfare against Americans. And it's a speech given by the director of the militia of Montana, John Trockman, and I think it's a pretty good, I think it's like 25 minutes, and it's talking about a secret war being waged on America by the elite rulers who now rule over us. Keep in mind, folks, that the ancient plan of conquering the world now is about 221 years in existence. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go with this little question and answer period in a seminar 2 weeks ago. And when we get back, we'll go to the Trockman piece, and then after that, we'll get into our story concerning the fellow in Austin that had the friendly government come in and tell him that he needs to mow his lawn, or he could face losing his property here in the land of the free. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and go with the first 5-minute piece, and we'll be back, folks, and then we'll go to the Trockman Militia of Montana piece.
I'm not for running and then dividing up. They would actually kind of like that. In fact, there's six, they've got America divided up into 7 regions openly, and we're region 6 here in Texas. There's several
Let
other.
me just comment on that. I personally believe, folks, that we have a lot of political prisoners in this country right now. I know that we do. And I think that we should be making some noise about getting Rick McLaren and some of these people. I don't care if they're Lyndon LaRouche people. I don't care if they're pot smokers. I don't care what they do. If they're no more than criminals of the state, political prisoners,
Black Panthers.
we should be, or we should be setting up some type of this mechanism to start the process moving to get these people out of prison. We cannot allow them to have these political prisoners sit there and have voice. Right. That's not what we nobody needs that voice. I don't believe Rick McLaren should be sitting in prison right now. I don't know if you know who Rick McLaren is, but I don't believe he's the dangerous, evil man that the damn media made him out to be.
But
Davidian? The Davidian, Frank Davidian sitting in prison. This has to come to a stop. We have to start standing up for people who
discuss that question.
Jeff, with the Republic of Texas, so you got to address the liens and the financial dealings and the whole 9 yards.
I'm suggesting that a lot of that was bogus.
A lot of it is, but I've seen a lot of these documents that are not.
In fact, I know for a fact that one of those
liens on our
one of those
well, that's the same
the
thing.
real criminals let me comment on it. The real criminals financing doing the lanes is the property tax man that comes to your house.
Well,
he's going to steal your house.
There were some.
The IRS.
You're not going to win by using the same
we need to
thuggery.
define what's criminal.
No, it's
Rick
the same.
McLaren ain't going to come out and steal your house, my friend.
It's the same kind of thuggery. The same kind of thuggery using liens and leases. It's the same type that the man is going to use.
You know that Arch Lowe repudiated all of those.
There are people who have spent a lot of money on these liens.
Do you understand the Republic of Texas said they're not doing that? I talked to him myself. They backed off on it.
I have seen the documents.
Look, here's the point, folks. I don't want to deteriorate.
I mean, I have seen the documents.
I
have seen the yeah, I did. I have seen the liens, and the liens are extortionary.
Excuse me. All I want to say is this. We've got to start standing up for these people that are sitting in prison. They're nothing more than political prisoners. I don't care if they're ex-CIA agents. I don't care if they're Lyndon LaRouche people. I don't care if
from the FBI.
I don't care if they're Lyndon LaRouche people who we might not agree with. I don't care if they're pot smokers. I don't care if they're Branch Davidians. The fact is we have a lot of people in our prison system right now that don't belong there, nothing more than criminals of the state, and we need to stand up for that. That's right. That's right.
One thing that he didn't mention about the
Hello, Austin, Texas. We are back. After that, that's what's some of the flavor of the seminar last week and a half ago. I want to mention, folks, that we have a new fellow that's been working down here with us, and his name is Mike Owens. And he's now, I guess it's sometime September, fixing to get a show of his own down here. And we want to just bring him up for a little bit. We've also got to go. We're going to go to. We've also actually got to go to. How are we going to do the black? We got to go to black for a little bit because we're going to put this segment on for later play. But we want to introduce.
You've got 10 minutes now if you want to do it now.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Okay, we've got this.
Put a slate up.
We've got this new producer coming down. It's been helping us now. Wait just a minute, Arthur. Wait just a minute. Okay, come on now. Okay, so there's your gig over there. Okay, we've got a new fellow, a fellow down here that's been helping us for the last 6 months or so. Cameras and doing some of the technical stuff behind the scenes, which is very important, folks. And once again, I maintain we've got the best crew, probably, in my opinion, that's ever produced a show down here on ACTV. And I think we'll see that later on in the program with the fellow who's having the city health department clamp down on his home. But with that, let me introduce to the Austin, Texas area a friend of mine who's been you've been helping us about 6 months.
About 6 months.
Mike Owens.
Good to meet you.
What?
Good to meet the public of Austin.
You may be a little bit nervous, Mike. I don't know. But the point is, you've been helping us down here now for about 6 months with cameras and whatnot. And you have got, I guess you're either getting your license or on the verge of getting your license.
I'm on the verge of getting my license, and we'll be having my own show.
Is it okay? So when is your show going to? When's your show going to launch?
Hopefully September.
Is it going to be live or?
It'll be a live call-in show.
Okay. Tell us a little bit, kind of, Michael, if you will, about what do you expect to do with it? What do you want to accomplish?
Well, it's going to expose corruption within the government. It's going to have guests on that will talk about UFOs, ETs, black projects, etc., and we'll be exposing information about that.
Okay. So you're hoping sometime in September, then you'll be able to get this underway then?
Yes.
And while I've got you here publicly, Michael, I want to say that first off, we at the program down here appreciate your efforts that you've done down here.
Well, I appreciate you letting me help with the show and get familiar with the studio and everything.
We've got Linda. I mean, anybody that comes down here and sees knows that we've got an excellent team down here.
Yes.
And
you have the best show here.
Yes, I would say that unquestionably the best show. Now there are plenty of indications that we're not well received by some people in the public and maybe even some people down here at AC. But we don't worry about that. We just press on with our agenda and continue to produce high quality shows. And like I say, I think with people like yourself and Linda and Mike and Crystal and Jeff and all the people that are contributing to the show with information and videos make it a tremendous show. And I hope that when you get launched that you will be that yours will be just as successful. And if you need any help,
okay,
you can count on the Jeff Davis program to.
Well, I'd appreciate any help, any information that anyone can give me. That'd be really appreciated.
Did you have anything you'd like to say, Michael? We've actually got to wind down this segment because we're going to put this on rotation. But did you have anything you'd like to say? You've got like 4 or 5 minutes here if you want.
Well, first of all, keep watching the Jeff Davis Show. He exposes a lot of information that you wouldn't hear otherwise on national media and whatnot. And he also has his own radio show. And be looking for me on ACTV. Eventually, I will be having my own show in September, and I'll also be exposing a lot of information that you wouldn't hear otherwise.
And you've mentioned that you wouldn't mind having me on as a guest.
Yes, I'll have you on even as a co-host if you want to.
Well, anybody that knows me knows that I very seldom turn down airtime. Right now my schedule is so booked that I maybe have to turn down some, but I will definitely help you out, and our crew and everything else to get you going. And,
okay.
As far as your set and everything that you're doing, if you like the way we do things down here, we can get that together.
Yes, everything's really laid back, and it's a really easygoing show, and it's been really helpful.
And everybody has fun doing it. And when you consider the type of topics that we discuss,
yes,
it's
real controversial.
And that was the goal when we all teamed up, I think, and that was that we were going to talk about issues that for one reason or another, the regular news media wouldn't touch, or wouldn't touch very much.
Yes.
And at the same time have fun with it. And up to this point, we've been we've had this team down here for about a year now or so, and I would say that that's just exactly what we've done. So I appreciate your help, Mike.
Well, I appreciate you letting me come down and help with your show, and giving me the opportunity to get to know the ACTV studio facilities and everything. You've been real helpful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your help.
And keep watching the Jeff Davis Show.
You got to talk to 829.
We do?
Yes, you do.
What about just put up the slate?
No, sir.
Got any calls?
We do?
You got to talk to 829.
Why can't you just... I wanted to wind it up with that. That
Wind
was
it up
good.
with a couple more of them plugs there about that.
Okay. Let me just mention, folks, what we got planned. Now, I haven't even seen this footage, but I was told that it was good. You know, Michael, we went in and we had a fellow approach us about how the Austin Health and Human Services Department basically said that if he doesn't mow his grass and whatnot, that they possibly could file a privileged lien against his property. And we're going to be getting to that after the Trockman interview. And we've got some excellent footage of his home, and we've actually interviews with his neighbors, some of his neighbors and whatnot. And I think this will be an interesting piece coming up here probably around 9 o'clock or so. We've also got, like I say, this John Trockman. It's a talking head video, and you've seen some of these.
Yeah.
But we've got that coming up at 8:30, almost sharp 8:30, and with that, and we've got another guest coming in later on, and so it should be a good second part of the show. But Michael, once again, I wanted to mention to you. I wanted to also say hello to. Why don't you say hello to first-time viewers? Let me go ahead and give you this one. Go ahead, say
Okay.
hello.
Hello, Oscar and Joy. Keep watching, and hope you call in and share your thoughts of the show.
Yeah, brand new viewers, and we want to say hello to them. We've discussed about the ski mask and how some of the ex-gang members are being put into the. Just to recap all of this, folks, because we actually need to run this show till 8:30. But we talked about the ski mask. Also, folks, and as we move into the second part of the show at 9 o'clock or 9:10, somewhere in that area, this is what we're going to be talking about. Do you happen to have any circumstances that you know of where somebody that you know lost their property to maybe the IRS or to the property?
No one I've met personally.
Texas, and we are back. And let me just mention, folks, before we get to the John Trockman piece of Militia, Montana, what's it called? It's called it's called chemical warfare in America, essentially. And it's a talking head video. It does have a good. Let me just mention. It's good. Is this part 3?
No, it's part 4.
Okay, biological chemical warfare unleashed on an unsuspecting public, again by design, with the blessings of Congress, funded by your tax dollars. Learn how secret government programs have been tested on you and your family. John Trockman, Militia, Montana. Do we have an address where we can get a hold of John Trockman? And there it is. There's the John Trockman. There's the Militia, Montana address. P.O. Box 1486, Knoxon, Montana 59853, and it's area code 406-847-2735. And it's called Biochemical Warfare. And I think, folks, you will see that there's more to the testing on the American public, more than just the syphilis and some of the things that even the national media. I want to just mention that we're joining here for this segment. Well, we'll get to this in a minute. But we're gonna be joined in here.
Can we bring Alex up just?
Yeah, just for a minute. Okay, we're gonna be joined up here for the final piece after the video for the piece with the segment about Roland with his house.
Got it.
Possibly being put under lien by radio owns Alex Jones.
Well, it's
who actually, let me mention, who actually went out And I appreciate that.
Oh, you bet.
You actually went out and did some of the interviews with my...
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've done it, and last time we went out and showed you the cameras they're putting up and things. I want to tell you something. Just a year ago, though, getting past this, just a year ago, I wouldn't have believed they were testing chemicals on our populace. But one day I was driving along, and I heard on a major radio station with ABC News that Britain admitted that in 1969 and 1970, they tested mild biological agents and viruses and chemicals on the population in some areas of London, and that there were a few deaths. So this is even being admitted, and we know that uranium and plutonium pills, it was even in Newsweek 4 years ago, that uranium and plutonium was given to pregnant wives of GIs at military bases. The nice military doctor, because he'd been told to, would give them uranium and plutonium pills just to see what kind of miscarriage they would have. So, and then you're talking about the projects.
Projects, yeah.
Also with the syphilis and the black people.
I also had a fellow on even an AP story indicated that there was some type of through wind tunnels or something. There was something being spread out in West Texas, which possibly may be linked to high incidence of cancers out there. Now, this was actually in an AP story. This was about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
You always hear about it. It's hard to believe. But
well, this is the thing.
Even the mainstream media reports
We'll let John Trockman tell us about it.
But what we do know is, is that the Austin Health and Human Services Environmental Health Services Division was harassing this older American for no reason, telling him to cut his grass. We went out and looked at the grass.
Did you see the Communist Manifesto? Let's put that up while Alex is talking about that. Communist Manifesto, folks, 10th plank.
What they're talking about, yes, they're talking about taking his private property, putting up, right here, not my words, the city's words, a privileged lien. So then we went out there, and he hadn't cut his grass. It's like 3 inches tall. He doesn't even water it. It looks fine to me. Morning glory, you name it. Then we went out to the city building, the health department, from the very address down here on 15th Waller Street. I suggest y'all go by and see it. And you will freak out. The place has got walls falling down, 5-foot weeds.
We've got all that footage.
Oh, we got all that footage.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But keep in mind, folks, 10th place. If anybody dares call up here and, they need to do that ordinance, we're going to slap that in your face, folks. So that's what you got coming if you're going to defend what's going on here. Now, I want to mention finally before we get to the video, Alex will be with us after the video, but I want to thank my sponsor. One of my sponsors down here, KFIT Radio, 1060 AM. I want to thank them for sponsoring this program. It takes a lot of guts to sponsor this program, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, some of the stuff on here, I think, is some speculation, but we do know that in Britain they did, in 69 and 70, release mild biological agents, and there were some deaths.
Maybe speculation.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank my sponsors. If we could put the slate up there. I want to thank the sponsor, one of the sponsors of the program.
We're getting it all.
Okay, KFIT Radio, 1060 on your dial. And like you say, it takes a certain amount of courage to sponsor this program.
Oh, it takes a lot.
Okay, but we want to do that, and KFIT Radio, folks, right there, 1060 AM, and
we'll be back in 20 minutes, right?
Alex, yeah, we'll be back in a little bit, and watch the Trockman video. It's a talking head video with
this is shocking.
Few images.
We went out and got footage. I mean, this guy, this is your yard, folks. Okay, this is nothing. This is 3-inch grass, and he's having liens placed on his home.
Okay, we'll be back with that in about...
and we got footage of that when we come back.
25 minutes. God bless you, awesome. We'll be back.
No one died. Americans owned America, and God was on our side. They're taking our freedoms. We can't afford to lose. We vote the Congress will listen to me and you. TV news blinds us and we don't hear the truth. America's the cradle of freedom, but don't rock the red, white, and blue.
America's judgment of what lies ahead in the form of biological chemical warfare out of laboratories by design to be used against we the people. Let me prove my point. But first, let me remind you of where we came from at the beginning of this talk in part 1. We talked about negative population growth, incorporated. How can we put an end to the mass starvation and suffering? There is only one answer: drastic reduction in the numbers of people. No other solution, they say. To drop the U.S. population to 150 million and world population to 2 billion maximum And according to reports that we've had, like Global 2000 report that James Gustav Speth did for the Carter administration, it's supposed to have happened and be all done with by the year 2000. And that's close, so we better get on with it here, folks. Now, the Cobden clubs have even been more sinister about it. U.S. Representative Gebhardt is a part of their club. At least his phone number used to be part of it. And by the way, a professor friend of ours picked this up at their meeting in the state of Iowa that was sponsored by the governor. He got it himself, so we know from whence we speak here. The Cobden clubs talk about the population reduction on a yearly basis by military force when required, and they call it the final solution. I find it extremely sick. Now, at the end of World War II, deals were made with the Japanese war criminals, not that we don't have our own, to trade biological warfare secrets in exchange for forgiveness of so-called war crimes, thus accelerating the American military to the head of the biological race. Unit 731 by Peter Williams and David Wallace. Ishii based his unit in remote northern Manchuria so he could experiment on human beings. There, in what was a police state, he could be given an uninterrupted supply of human guinea pigs. With the unique data gained from human experiments, Ishii believed Japan could outstrip the rest of the world in developing this new weapon of war. No other country would have such accurate details about how epidemics spread and how to protect against them. Only Japan would fully master the twin fields of biological warfare, offensive and defensive. Going down to the bottom paragraph, I'd like to share this. The Cold War politics led American authorities to utilize and cover up their work in occupied Japan. Now, going to U.S. Senate hearings before the Subcommittee on Health and Scientific Research of the Committee of Human Resources. Sounds just like we're a bunch of cattle the way they talk about us. The 95th Congress, first session. Examination of serious deficiencies in the Defense Department's efforts to protect the human subjects of drug research, March 8th and May 23rd of 1977. U.S. Government Printing Office, Washington, D.C. Going immediately into the document, we find this, unclassified U.S. Army activity in, I said in, the United States. Biological Warfare Program, Volume 1, February 24th, 1977. Going into the document, we find this, the contents, and we'll start right here with number 1. Biological Warfare Program. Research and planning years after World War II, 1946 to 1949. Expansion of the biological warfare program during the Korean War, 50 to 53. Cold War years, recognition of weapons and defense programs, 1954 to 58. The limited war period, expanded research, development, testing, and operational readiness, 59 to 62. Adoption of the biological program to counter insurgencies, the Vietnam War years. Yeah, right, including Agent Orange, made by DuPont, which is a subsidiary of IG Farben, a corporation in Germany. Now, IG Farben is the corporation that ran the prison camps for Nazi Germany. No doubt what we have to look forward to here. The disarmament and phase down, 68 and 69. The Biological Defense Research Program, 73 to 77. Let's get into this a little ways, and I'll show you what kind of a liar they are here. You know, people are worried about a vial coming in somebody's private parts into this country when dirty Fort Detrick makes it by the ton. I think we have something a little out of proportion here. That's like saying drugs are coming into the United States in somebody's underwear when in fact jumbo jets and boxcars are bringing them in. On page 80 we find this from Dirty Detrick, I call it Fort Detrick. The contractors, the number of contracts, the contract dates, etc. Aerojet General Corporation did 29 experiments for Fort Detrick starting in October of 1956. Aero Projects Incorporated did 9 starting in 1950, etc., etc. This is just one of 20 pages of contracts to Fort Detrick, in addition to Detrick doing its own dirty work and all their other subsidiaries and appendages. Page 124 talks about what they did and how they did it. Anti-personnel with biological stimulants involving public domain. That's our backyard, folks. Anti-personnel with biological stimulants not involving public domain. What does that mean? If it's not public, there's not too many other choices. It still involves either us or our children, doesn't it? Number 4, anti-personnel with pathogenic agents. Pathogenic means disease-causing. Number 5, Anti-crop with pathogenous agents, including public domain. Is that where Colonel Bunt came from, to short-circuit the food supply? No doubt. I'm just going to cover a couple of these, because that's all I'll make reference to later. Bacillus globuli, which means to produce endosporins which attack the cells. It can be pathogenic or disease-causing. Seriaceae, morcescens, to wither away or become faint or weak, like the Gulf War syndrome, isn't it? And skipping down here, however you say this, Escherichia or E. coli, a bacteria found in the colons of humans and some animals, and sprayed on us and our food. How do you like that? So mighty sick people we have out there, isn't there? And this is where they were using these agents. Biological field test, anti-personnel, biological stimulants involving public domain. Location of the test, Washington, D.C. Date, 8 August 1949. And they were just using the two agents that we talked about. Seriaceae morcescens, to cause the withering away or be faint or weak. Bacillus produces endosporins which attack the cells, can be pathogenic or disease-causing. Those are the two we'll talk about now. So that was one place in Washington, D.C. starting in 49. The USS Coral Sea and the USS K.D. Bradley at sea off the entrance of Port Hampton Roads, like Norfolk, Virginia, etc., the big naval base there. It involved the civilians also. San Francisco, California, Port Hueneme, California, Panama City, Florida, in both offshore and between Port Hueneme and Point Mugu, California, near Santa Barbara. Get a load of this. Pennsylvania State Highway number 16, westward for 1 mile from benchmark 193. Right along our highways, in the tunnels, in Pennsylvania Turnpike. You're not off the hook either, sir. Even happened in Hawaii. This is page 1 of many, many pages we've got. This document is 250 pages long. Going a little further, page 248 says this: activities of particular CIA interest. There's that scurrilous group again. I know there's good agents in there, but the bad sure seemingly outweigh the good with their drug running, etc. Through discussions with people associated with the project, reflect an overriding interest in incapacitants, particularly in latter years. Available records make it clear that CIA interests included maintaining a stockpile of lethal materials and delivery systems. The evidence indicates that the agency relied upon the U.S., upon the use of specific biological warfare agents and toxins being investigated as normal part of the Army's biological warfare program. This was September 15, 1975 when it was released. Now, to prove them a liar right off the bat, I want to share this with you. We have reports of hundreds of Boots or Navy trainees massacred at Farragut, Idaho in World War II. One survivor, a Jesse G. Melrose of Devil's Lake, North Dakota, tells of his entire company being wiped out 2 to 3 hours after going to bed their last night at boot camp. Melrose became deathly ill and barely survived, but says his life was ruined instantly and forever. Reports say 1,700 men died at Farragut, Idaho in World War II. This happened to him October 24th, 1944. He's alive today and still talks to me. Is that sick or what? Appropriations for 1970. Hearing Subcommittee, Committee on Appropriations, House of Representatives, stamped November 24th, 1969. Department of Defense Appropriations, House Bill 15090, Chemical and Biological Warfare. Let me show you what these thieving scoundrel traitors have done to us. Page 129. There are 2 things about the biological agent field I would like to mention. One is the possibility of technological surprise. Molecular biology is a field that is advancing very rapidly, and eminent biologists believe that within a period of 5 to 10 years it would be possible to produce a synthetic biological agent, an agent that does not naturally exist, and for which no natural immunity could have been acquired. Now, just a little of the conversation between a representative and a doctor. Mr. Sykes, are we doing anything in that field? Dr. MacArthur, we are not. Mr. Sykes, why not? Lack of money or lack of interest? Dr. MacArthur, certainly not lack of interest. And it goes on to say, and I'll quote from way down here, a research program to explore the feasibility of this could be completed in approximately 5 years at a cost of $10 million. Yeah, I'll bet you my bottom dollar it was already done. Now to show you where this leads, the little old Habitat program, Habitat 2, creating healthy cities in the 21st century. Let me remind you who's involved in this healthy cities for the 21st century. The WHO organization, the World Health Organization. They are the people that administered the smallpox vaccines to Africa in the 1970s, and for no extra charge the Africans got HIV positive from these dirty, scurrilous clowns. I'm talking so nice about them, they deserve much worse than that. Scale. Now from 50 USCS, that's the United States Codes, 1520, we find this. The use of human subjects for testing of chemical and biological agents by the Department of Defense. The Secretary of Defense shall supply the Committees and Armed Services of the Senate and the House of Representatives not later than October 1 of each year a full accounting of all experiments and studies conducted by the Department of Defense in the preceding 12-month period, whether directly or under contract, which involves the use of human subjects for the testing of chemical and biological agents. This was June 30th, 1977, when all this other stuff was happening. They still went ahead and did it against you and I. They really care, don't they? Now this we found in a forest. It's like 8 by 10 feet or 10 by 12 feet. It was about a foot thick to start with. And there was many of them scattered out in the forest near water areas, lakes or rivers. The next time we come, it was all cranked up and popped into position. What it appeared to be is a decontamination center in the forest. And it says on the side of it right here, U.S. Army MUST Project, Office of the Surgeon General. What does that mean? What's going on in our backyard? Now we've got, all across the country, we're finding this even in our own backyard, presentation, emerging infections, new microbial threats, presented by the Montana State Epidemiologist, Wednesday, January of 1997. Public invited, free. Why? What do they know that we don't know? What are they talking about? Now, I don't have the exact date, but this is from early summer of 1996, Gannett News Service, Washington. The Food and Drug Administration soon plans to make finally a temporary ruling that allows the Pentagon to use experimental vaccines and drugs on U.S. troops without their consent. The controversial rule, issued at the Pentagon's request in 1990, before the war with Iraq, was described during a suit against military commanders at the time as treating soldiers as though they were human guinea pigs. How sick. October 1, 1990, Washington, D.C., the Iraq Regional ITF, says this, and I'll just paraphrase some of it here for the sake of time. The Iraq biological warfare developments, it talks about Iraq being given and the U.S. knowing exactly what was going on, of these aerosol generators in the spring of 1990 that deliver up to 800 gallons of biological chemical warfare per hour, 2 different types at a time. And our government knew about it in October, that they sent our troops in there. Then in December of 1990, Operation Desert Shield, Department of Defense, it says Iraq missiles sites 60 Scud missiles with chemical and biological warfare within arm's throw of our troops as they were stationed there. Now these are the warheads or the missiles that were there. It's not written in anything but English. Those are the pictures that came back to us. So obviously the Russians didn't make them. It shows our troops working on them to disarm them without any Mach 4 gear, without any protection at all. They were ordered not to. Let me show you how dirty this gets. Now this is, it says the country, Iraq, Egypt, Department of Defense, but it says it's classified. That's just too bad. The public's going to know. February 9th of 1991. Title, The Disease Epidemic Overwhelming Iraqi Cities. 50 soldiers were killed by their own biological weapons. Well, I'm sorry to say it wasn't their weapons, it was our weapons. Now there's a man in mainstream media that I'd like to pat on the back. He stood taller than any man I know in media. His name is Tom Grant. He and the station he worked for, KREM 2 in Spokane, Washington, have been the only television station in America thus far who had the courage to put the truth out on the Gulf War illness. We thank you for your courage and fair journalism, Tom. Joyce Riley, a registered nurse, a captain with the U.S. Air Force in active reserve right now, caught the Gulf War syndrome by treating some of the soldiers as she was en route in her aircraft. She sold her little baby grand piano and bought an ad in the Washington Times, November of 1996, that says this, November 3rd of 96. Contrary to what the Pentagon is telling you, there is a deadly Gulf War biological disease ravaging our troops, and it is contagious. Approximately 15,000 Gulf War veterans are already dead, and between 100 and 200,000 troops are sick, disabled, or dying. According to Senate testimony from ex-Senator Donald Regis, February to October 94, Senate reports 103,900 and 103,994. Biological weapons were manufactured, sold, and shipped to Iraq with the full knowledge of the Bush administration, Department of Commerce, and Center of Disease Control. These Gulf War diseases are contagious, and 75% of Gulf War veterans report the disease now spread to their spouses and children. How sick. The disease is a public health hazard spread by blood transfusion, sex, perspiration, I may add coughing. Every sitting senator in 1994 heard this information. This includes ex-Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole, whose wife Elizabeth Dole oversees 50% of the blood transfusions in this country via the American Red Cross. Boy, are we safe in this nation today. Joyce Riley, you can get in touch with her at the Gulf War Veterans Association in Sugar Land, Texas. Gulf War syndrome may be infectious, doctors say. Missoulian, March 9th of 1997. Irvine, California, a number of medical professionals who say they have become ill while treating Persian Gulf War veterans claim the mysterious disease afflicting tens of thousands of soldiers is contagious and could pose a public health threat. Doctors, nurses, and laboratory researchers, as well as others who come in casual contact with the Gulf War veterans, say they have contacted the same symptoms, which are fatigue, fever, aches, rashes, respiratory problems that are generally associated with Gulf War syndrome. Down to the bottom here. Whatever the cause, they say it is spreading. This is also from the Los Angeles Times. But the dirty old Department of Defense, Pentagon, says this. The Gulf War disease. Washington, a massive government study of more than 10,000 veterans of Operation Desert Storm in 91 has found no evidence of any kind of mysterious Gulf War diseases. Isn't that nice of them? If they can't even protect their own soldiers, should we be concerned for the condition of our country? You bet we should. We better be concerned about it right now. Now, this is the traitor, one of the top traitors as far as I'm concerned, to do his own troops in. Mr. Schwarzkopf, if I were you, I'd change your children's name because they're not going to want to have your name in the future. When we're done with you, you'll be all done. General Schwarzkopf, testifying before the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee, lying about his own personal troops. One of his personal bodyguards, a man by the name of Kevin Wright, a 27-year-old man, now is suffering and dying from the Gulf War syndrome. He protected this general. He put the general underground, yet he was ordered not to go to Mach 4 to protect himself. He also has a wife and a daughter that are sick. Shame on you, Schwarzkopf. Now, the Soviet tanks that we were talking about earlier, this is a picture of a couple of them at a truck stop, Exxon truck stop in Texas. Now, those tanks, Soviet tanks, and those Soviet trucks are here in America in great numbers, but not to worry, they're targets according to the DOD clone called Soldier of Fortune. This is an old military manual, what it has to say about those vehicles sitting side by side, the tank and the truck. Soviet chemical units operate on the move with combat units, thereby preserving a rapid rate of advance, even chemically contaminated areas. Should we be concerned? And why is this man here in our country? This is Lenin, an 18-foot, 8-ton bronze statue, Lenin in the Park in Washington, Seattle, Washington, to be exact. Why? What's going on here? Now, shifting gears just a bit, this is a cover of the Old Catholic Bible, the Goodspeed version, and I would like to share this with you on page 771. That's Ezekiel chapter 14, starting at verse 13. It talks about a famine, which we've talked about tonight, a wild beast, a sword, and a pestilence. Going on to the Jewish Bible, this is the cover of it. Inside of that Bible on page 434, It says exactly the same thing. Ezekiel chapter 14, starting at verse 13. The famine, verse 15, the evil beast, verse 17, a sword, verse 19, the pestilence. Now let me show you from the King James Version of the Protestant Bible. The Thompson Chain reference is the one they're using here. This is what it says on page 773. Ezekiel 38, doggone it, Ezekiel chapter 14, starting at verse 13. It says the same exact thing as the other Bibles. So my suggestion is to you, put away your doggone religious differences and put your nation back together. Look what religion has done to you. We'll break the staff of bread, therefore, and we'll send famine upon it, and we'll cut off man and beast from it. Verse 15, I will cause noisome beasts to pass through the land, that they spoil it, so that it be desolate, and that no man pass through it because of the beast. Verse 17, I will bring a sword upon the land, and say, sword, go through the land, so that it will cut off, I will cut off man and beast from it. And verse 19 is the most curious one. Or I will send pestilence upon the land, and pour out my fury upon it in blood. Where is the desert or the Gulf War syndrome? Where is AIDS? Where are the rest of our diseases? It's in our blood, isn't it? How did they know that way back when? Now, shifting gears to another prophecy, American Indian magic, secret powwow vows, or powwows, and Hopi prophecies by Brad Stagger. On page 176, Sunbear told me that his bear tribe is jealously putting away stores of food and survival materials in the manner of the Hopi. According to one of the ancient prophecies, he said the great purification will come after a white man has built a house in the sky. We believe that prophecy refers to Skylab. When I asked Sunbear if there might be anything that the system might do to stave off approaching cleansing of Mother Earth, he shook his head and replied, we know that it has already happened in the spirit world. Soon spirit time will become our time, and it will happen here on Earth. There is nothing man can do to stop it. The Earth Mother will shake fleas off her back just as a dog rids itself of parasites. When the cleansing has occurred, good people of spiritual awareness will build a better world. What about all the brothers and sisters who for one reason or another just can't get out of the cities to prepare for the great cleansing? Sunbear, you are asking for kind words. All I can say is that the reality is that at some point the cities will not be places where people can survive. The whole structuring of a city is anti-nature. Anti-nature is anti-anything that is real. The Earth Mother is going to cleanse itself. The people are going to have to cleanse themselves by getting rid of past concepts of things and by coming into harmony with the land. It will be important to find people to whom you can relate, a group that can come together and offer harmony. But human beings have to regenerate their mental outlook so that they can come together in complete harmony. And harmony cannot come alone from going up on a mountaintop and doing a bit of contemplating on your navel and thinking all there is to it. That kind of mysticism is selfish because you are only riveting on yourself. There's a man by the name of John Grady, which started an organization called the American Pistol Rifle Association. He's a medical doctor out of Tennessee. He published a book called Washington's Visions and Prophecy for America. He acquired this out of the nation's archives. This is America's history. Washington had 3 visions. The first he had is showing him kneeling at Valley Forge, which was the first vision that he had in the conflict that he was involved in. The second one that he had was the war between the states that put brother against brother. But the third one is the one we're going to talk about tonight. And again I heard the mysterious voice saying, Son of the Republic, look and learn. At this the dark shadowy angel placed a trumpet to his mouth and blew 3 distinct blasts. Taking water from the ocean, he sprinkled it upon Europe, Asia, and Africa. Then my eyes beheld a fearful scene. From each of these countries arose thick black clouds that were soon joined into one. Throughout this mass there gleamed a dark red light, by which I saw hordes of armed men who moved with the cloud, marched by the land and sailed by sea to America. Our country was enveloped in this volume of cloud, and I saw these vast armies devastate the whole country and burn the villages, towns, and cities that I beheld springing up. As my ears listened to the thundering of the cannon, clashing of the swords, and the shouts and cries of millions in mortal combat, I heard again the mysterious voice saying, Son of the Republic, look and learn. When the voice had ceased, the dark shadowy angel placed his trumpet once more to his mouth and blew a long and fearful blast. Instantly a light as of 1,000 suns shone down from above me, and pierced and broke into fragments the dark cloud which enveloped America. At the same moment, the angel upon whose head still shone the word Union, and who bore our national flag in one hand and a sword in the other, descended from the heavens, attended by legions of white spirits. These immediately joined the inhabitants of America, who I perceive were well nigh overcome, but who immediately taking courage again, closed up their broken ranks and renewed the battle. Again, amid the fearful noise of the conflict, I heard the mysterious voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." As the voice ceased, the shadowy angel, for the last time, dipped water from the ocean and sprinkled it upon America. Instantly the dark cloud rolled back, together with the armies it had brought, leaving the inhabitants of the land victorious. Then once more I heard the villages, towns, and cities springing up where I had seen them before, while the bright angel, planting the azure standard he had brought in the midst of them, cried with a loud voice, "While the stars remain, and the heavens send down dew upon the earth, so long shall the Union last." And taking from his bow the crown in which blazed the word Union, he placed it upon the standard while the people knelt down and said, "Amen, amen." Thank you.
Hello, Austin, Texas, and we are back. And let me just mention, folks, I guess we're we gotta go black again or something, or? Okay, let me just mention we got Alex Jones here with us, local radio personality. And for the final hour and a half here, folks, we're going to be talking about this. And we've actually got some nice footage, and it's from the Austin Health and Human Services Department, the Travis County Health Department, you know, the loving organizations.
I want to say one real fast thing. I've seen some of Trockman's videos, and I don't trust the government, because I know they're out of control, and they've admitted they've done things to the public. But a lot of Americans believe in the psychic stuff, or you know, this prophecy of the Indians, the prophecy of the Bible, or whatever. And I just want to say that your show is a good show because it's open-minded and it puts out a lot of information. But I don't want to totally affiliate myself with with the future of the Hopi Indians and telling us how things are going to run. But this, Jeff, is real. This is real. This is the city terrorizing citizens.
Well, I actually didn't eat, but let me just mention
we were outside.
That the militia Montana is
real.
Yeah, and there's 25,000 armed militiamen.
No, I understand. I've seen his tapes.
So it is a potent.
Yeah, oh, no, listen, I've seen a lot of his films, and that was the first one I saw that got a little bit funny. Maybe one of his people put it together. He was trying to say, you know, look, the Indian prophecy, Hopi Indian says this is happening, the Bible says this is happening. We don't have to go to things like that to get information.
Yeah, well, that, you know, partially I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, what we do know is we have a government that's completely running amok, taking our rights, killing people, and
in our best interest.
Yeah, it's in our, and this next story, folks, which we're fixing to get into. Now, Alex, I want you to go ahead. Now, you were with our producer.
Excellent producer.
Saturday, right?
Yes, it was.
And you went out and got some footage between a bunch of yous. Tell us about the situation with Charles Ellington.
Okay.
Go to Slate.
Okay, we got to go to Slate for
We'll be back in a minute.
Okay, we'll be back in 1 minute,
yeah.
And we're just changing tapes because it's going to be on replay, folks. We got to do this, and when we come back, no more slates, no more BS for about an hour and 20 minutes, and I'll explain to you how this citizen is being harassed, and then we have the videotape proof.
But it's loving.
It's for the children. And then, but the biggest thing of it is, once we show you the tape, you know, we'll talk about this for a while before we show the tape, is that it pretty much is so hypocritical. It's such hypocrisy because we go out to the health department and there's trash, garbage, walls falling down, people walking around drinking, garbage, toxic stuff laying around, rubber.
We'll get to all that.
Yeah, and then they're harassing us.
Can we just put up? Okay, we ready? Okay, let's go ahead and.
We'll be back in 1.
Hello, Austin, Texas. We're back. Now, folks, we got callers on the line for a while. Let me first off, before we get back, let me thank one of my sponsors. KFIT Radio, 1060 on the dial. They are in part sponsoring the program, and we appreciate them. KFIT Radio, 1060 AM on your dial. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to let Alex mention what he saw out there at the at this fellow's property. And we've also got some footage.
Yeah, well, the main thing is, Jeff, your crew's doing a good job, and it's a good thing that y'all are taping this. That's why we had to do that stuff just a minute ago. Okay, the Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department, Environmental Health Services Division.
Loving.
Yeah, at 15th, well, it's needed. It's not loving. It's needed. 15. What are you going to do? We got to have laws. Now, wait a minute.
While you're talking, let's put up that comment. Go ahead. Let's put up that Communist Manifesto while Alex is explaining.
Well, which is just a blanket statement of the criminals worldwide.
All right, go ahead. Let's put up part of the
communism's criminality.
Part of the philosophy that's been brought in by the world's rulers. Go ahead, Alex.
Sure, but we're not supposed to ever talk about communists. They don't exist.
Yeah. All right.
And communist systems don't exist. Thugs don't exist. Criminals don't exist. Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department, Environmental Health Services Division, 15th Waller Street, and that's Austin, Texas, 78702. And we'll give out their phone number later. I know your producer Mike wants everybody to be able to call and tell them how they appreciate that this old man's being harassed. Now, it says, and I have the actual ticket right here, or threat, or coercive shakedown letter. It says,
best interest.
Yeah, best interest. This shakedown letter, levying letter, says, in accordance with sections 10-2.1, 10-.2 through 10-.4, and Austin sections 3, 4.00, and I won't go on the rest of it. It says, Health and Safety Code, please mow and remove high grass, weeds, remove rubbish, trash, and debris, remove objectionable material. That's whatever they feel like, pretty much. That's whatever they want to tell you. And here's the letter right here. Well, this is actually a copy of their letter. That's the lovingness right there. We'll focus that for you.
That's the lovingness.
And we back up a little bit, we can get the whole thing, but that's pretty much it right there. And what this is this is a shakedown, folks. Okay? This is an absolute, total, complete, and it says, this is to inform you that a condition in violation of an ordinance or state law exists on the property located at 407 West 37th Street. Now, he has 3-inch grass. I saw nothing was there. I drove by when he first faxed this to me, and there was nothing there, no problem. Then before we came out and filmed, he raked up some leaves and got about 1/4 of a trash can of leaves. That's his property. Many people leave leaves on the ground at their, and this is a little nice West 37th Street, it's the one with the Christmas tree lights and stuff that people like to drive down. And this is just absolutely insane. And it says right here, if you do not remove objectionable material, the safety code constitutes a privileged lien upon the land or premises upon which the work must be done, or work was done. Should this violation recur within 12 months of the date of this notice, the property may be cleaned and the cost of such cleaning assessed without further notice to you. So that means once you've been bad, we'll just come and come on your property whenever we want and clean things. I thought that's illegal. I thought that's trespassing, number one. I thought police had to have a warrant. Well, this is just services of the city, so they don't have to. Now, I had never been out to where this place is based, Austin Health and Human Services, Environmental Health Services Division. There's a lot of services here. 15th Waller Street. Later,
they're really serving us.
Folks, you've got to stay for the tape in about 20 minutes, because after we talk to him a while, go all around his house, look at everything. Then we go out, and I just had a gut hunch. I said, let's go out and see what the city building looks like. Maybe we can film some 5-inch grass or something and say, okay, he's got 3-inch grass, they've got 5-inch grass, and just make a joke out of it. Look how they're harassing this guy, and it's just pure harassment for his best interest. And then look at the city building. Well, I couldn't have imagined anything better to make them look stupid.
Is this it here?
Well, no, that's at his street. That's right up at the front of his street, right off Guadalupe on 37th, on West 37th Street. But past that, what we go and what we check out is, and what we did is we go out to Waller Street. It's this big 5-6-story building. And there's like a 10-story building over beside that that's a part of the government. And
walls are falling down. There's fiberglass and metal shavings that can hurt children. And I'm serious, can hurt children.
I mean, on the city front.
Yeah, giant weeds, like 6-foot weeds growing up, 6-inch
we've
grass
got all
everywhere.
this on footage.
Yes, garbage with fire ants crawling all over it. And this is all at the Environmental Health Services Division,
now,
15th
folks,
Waller Street.
We want you to go ahead and let's put the number back up. We want you to go ahead and contact this city department. Tell them what a fine job.
No, I've got to say something. There's the right wing, the front of the right wing house where they live. Look at it, an arborist, a evil.
Right there. Where's the number? Tell this loving organization what a fabulous job they're doing to coming onto this man's property.
Well, actually, your producer has kind of the wrong name. It's Environmental Health Services. It's Environmental Health Services.
That's right.
And if you want to fax them, it's 469-2030.
It's loving.
Look at the evil. I mean, this guy's got his house and then a rental property behind it. Right here in this quaint little neighborhood, look at the grass. It's out of control. They haven't even cut it, folks. It's like 3-inch underwatered grass, and that's what the city wants you to do, is not water. They say, even though we got floods going on, it's just water's a bad thing for us to drink and to have. It's just
yeah, but they also, we did a story about 6 months ago on Onion Creek.
Oh yeah.
And they're awful loving out there too.
Oh yeah.
See, they're in a floodplain and they have to meet certain standards, certain criteria. And they weren't issuing permits, and they weren't allowing people to build upon their own property. This is all loving.
Well, it's only the start. Now, see, there's the grass in the backyard. It's about 5 inches tall in spots, very evil. And and again, he's an arborist, so you can see his tools and things. And look at that out of control backyard.
Let's go ahead and do we got this? We got audio to this?
Yes. No.
Let's go ahead and run this piece.
Hold on, Jeff. This is just his yard and things, and there is the out of control older gentleman,
landowner.
Yeah, that works hard every day, and there I am walking around in the right wing areas. See the horrible, nicely painted home. It's just a quaint home. It's not a big deal. It's nothing sharp. It's nothing incredible. It's just his home and a rental property behind. There aren't bad people living there. I met the renters. They're just some English fellas that are over here who are artists, and he's an evil arborist. And there's an evil flower growing there. And so this is what's going on, and so we're not cutting anything off that you shouldn't see. It's pretty. Oh, and there's the little.
There it is.
There's the actual ticket that he was sent because he's out of control and needs to pay. Now, this is all just the camel's nose under the tent flap. Bureaucrats are greedy under the guise of environmentalism to get your property rights and to control your property. And so,
now let's just make clear though that it's not just environment. You could get a letter for this, for property tax.
There could be a golden cheek warbler.
There
could be a salamander, or there could be some standing water. People have.
There it is.
Yes, people have.
Health Department, Environmental Health Service.
It was Environmental Health Services.
They're really doing.
Talk about being a wordsmiths. And again, their fax number is 469-2030. But before we go to the video, Jeff, I just want to say one thing. I've never seen such hypocrisy in my life. I remember that one of the mainstream news stations during the so-called drought about a year ago went and filmed some government buildings with broken sprinklers on days that they were telling us not to water. They had broken spigots. They were cleaning their vehicles with fire hoses, you name it. But this is worse because the question is, even if somebody's backyard is messed up, that's the job of a homeowner's policy. If you go into a neighborhood...
But there's ordinances.
Hold on, I understand. But what I'm saying is there is no homeowner's clause here in this neighborhood. There's nothing wrong. They've done nothing wrong.
But they have to have laws, Alex.
Right.
They have to have
Well, let me ask you this. Well, then, why can't we stop the people?
Now, while we're here,
what about the people slitting throats, the carjacking, the molesting? Why don't we get back to basics? That's why crime's out of control.
Right there.
Because people know the government's there to only shake people down.
One more time. Let's put that up there and keep that up there for a while while we're talking about this. Folks, now, I want to encourage anybody that, doing this thing, to call up and say, well, we've got to have laws, and what we're going to do, we're going to slap that in your face. That'll prove whoever's on the end of that phone line is naively a minion.
Well, let me say something
a
real fast.
useful idiot.
Exactly.
That's what it is. A useful idiot.
Whose word is that?
In support of philosophy laid down by Karl Marx.
Well, let me just say something real fast. Again, communism was financed and created by a group of rich industrialists and bankers, turn of the century, Lenin and then Stalin. By 1923, had already gotten over $200 million from European, British, and New York bankers and industrialists because they wanted to create a vacuum. The Tsar was slowly, Tsar Nicholas of Russia was slowly giving up his power. Russia was booming then and was growing. And then when the communists got in with their loving ideas that UT professors sometimes glorify, 50 million were starved or killed in gulag camps for their best interests. Now, that's what we're getting here, but another brand. It's thugs getting together and shaking people down. Now, environmentalism is good if it's really for the environment, but we've all heard about...
That's not what it's about.
I understand, but
yeah.
We've all heard about all over the South about these industrial pig farms where they just dump thousands, hundreds of millions sometimes of gallons a year of pig feces that destroy the lakes, destroy the rivers. But nothing's happening to them. Corporations that fund environmentalist groups are busy cutting down the rainforest. The Ford Foundations, the Rockefeller Brothers Foundations, countless. It's all a big front.
But then they also, let me just...
Well, here's what I'm saying. I am for real environmentalism, but environmentalists out there need to understand the city's using it as a way to shake down citizens. This guy has 3-inch grass. It hasn't been cut. And this is harassment, so something has to be done.
Okay, let me just mention that all of the... Well, I was talking to a young lady outside before the show started.
Yeah, give them a call and tell them
all
how appreciate
of this, even the, not only are the big corporations controlled by the rulers, but so are the major environmental groups.
It's a fact.
So it's just a big con.
Okay, let me say this.
A big con.
Well, let me ask people this. Gorbachev, who was not a reformer, by the way, he pretty much took his marching orders. He heads up a group called Green Shield, and they have the Presidio Naval Base in California now. This is a fact. It's been on C-SPAN. Ted Turner goes and speaks at it, and so does Jane Fonda, and talks about how we have too much goods and services and how we're consuming too much, but it's okay for them to have their dozen jet planes and their 10 ranches and their money and all their sex and power and drugs and everything else, and their cable systems and all that. But past that, Gorbachev heads up one of the biggest environmental groups in the world, Green Shield. He is the president and founder in a bunch of international Swiss, the nice people that have all that Nazi gold, Swiss banks, British banks, and New York banks, international banks, and they're using it as an excuse to water down private property. So when they bankrupt the economy, which they've done, Milton Friedman admits, every major contraction of the monetary supply has created all major depressions and downturns. So just understand this point. This has got to be understood right now. Environmentalism in its form today, I don't mean the dupes on the ground that think they're part of something good. It's about watering down your rights to private property because in the Great Depression, they took over $40 billion in homes and farms, and that was in 1920, 1923, 1925, 1926 numbers, okay?
Let me just mention one other thing. In addition,
29.
It's not just environment.
29.
It's floodplains.
You can have a puddle in your backyard, and they'll come take your land or tell you can't build on it, and then you have to give it up to the city.
It's all of this.
At reduced prices, and then the city gets your land. Yes, but don't worry. These industrial pig farmers can dump all their toxic sludge into the rivers.
Okay, folks, let's go ahead, Troy. We've had callers that have been holding for a long time.
Socialism for you, not for them.
Okay, let's go to line 1 with Oscar. Oscar, thank you for calling the program, my friend.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
It's good to be on your show, and I certainly enjoyed.
Thank you.
Caller.
Thank you.
And this is preposterous the way they're going about this, just to grab off somebody's land.
Yes, sir.
It's happening, even as we speak. It's happening.
But you understand, it's in his best interest.
Yes, that's true.
See, everything is always in everybody's best interest. This is the smoke and mirrors that they use against us. You understand that, right,
Oh,
Oscar?
yes, definitely.
Well, let's break it down real fast.
Smoke and mirrors.
Let him
sure,
go
sure.
on.
Well, I mean, exactly what it is this. This Health, Environmental Services Department, when we went down there, that is a central collection, thug, gangster collection site where the money's collected, the harassment is collected, and then they pump it back to the state and then to the feds and then into the hands of foreign banks. And that's a fact. A majority of our debt every year goes to the foreign banks.
Keep in mind, Oscar, that these people down here at this local level, they're just minions.
Yeah, they're just little collection drones.
Yeah, they're just minions. In fact, they probably believe they're doing good.
Best interest.
Oh yeah, they're doing the best interest for the whole people.
They're helping children.
They're
see, me and Jeff, we're just right wing.
They're what I call useful idiots to the establishment.
Yes, definitely.
That's what they are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I agree.
Useful idiots. But you got anything else, Oscar?
No, I think not. But I think it's one other item. They're the way they're taking over other private property too.
Oh yeah.
But we've got to save.
Well, let him. What other ways do you know of?
We've got to save Mother Earth.
What other ways do you know?
Well, for instance, somebody owns 5 or 10 acres of land they intend to build on someday. And then when they come to build on it, you got to get this, you got to get that, you got to get this permit. And so even when you get those permits, the chances are you're not going to get to build on them because it's going to keep warbler or salamanders growing on it or something like that.
Yeah, sir.
And really all that's going to do is just keep property taxes a lot higher here. It'll force everybody to stay right here in Austin. That's what they want. See, this whole anti-growth movement, it's really all about the people that have central control here in Austin, want to keep their, the rack renters, the people that like to make us all live in apartments in compact cities. See, it's a dream for big money. For upper middle class landowners, it's a nightmare.
It sure is. And your land gets worthless there in a little bit.
But sir, let me explain. The rich elitists that control the world, they really don't really want your land and your money. They really do care about salamanders and golden-cheeked warblers.
That's right.
And beetles, and almost...
Yeah, the beetles and the non-sting-eye cave bugs.
Yes, sir. Property taxes is another mechanism.
Yeah, you do not own your property.
Yeah, you familiar with the old riot tenure feudalism system that the British imposed, where you actually don't own anything? You do the property taxes. You're renting it's a riot tenure type system.
If you're a good steward of the land, you're allowed to live there.
It's the old feudalism. Yeah. In other words, you own it as long as you pay your property taxes. So you never really own anything in this country.
But this is order.
Because it's all
this is for the best interest.
It's the best interest of everybody here and also the whole world.
But we're just extremists. Tom Brokaw tells me everything's fine, so I'm going to listen to him because he doesn't have any interest in keeping us snowed under and keeping us stupid.
One thing I want to mention, now they use this ploy about you did our best interest. Now they take property taxes, for example, and supposedly it pays for the schools. Okay, the schools, we've seen what the government training centers have done to the kids.
Yes.
Okay, dumbed them down.
Guns,
them down.
Don't care.
Socialist, apathetic, the whole thing. Also,
apathetic, yeah.
We need the roads. Okay, let me just counter the road thing, because a lot of people say, what are we going to do about the roads? Well, here's the thing. Roads, the only reason why they're even providing roads, and I'm going to just counter this right now, is about 3 reasons. Number one, they can find it. That way they can find it. If they did not allow public roads where they finance, where they can control, and let the slaves get to their slave jobs, private roads and toll roads might pop up. See, this is the reason why they even give us roads.
And when I grew up in Dallas...
somebody's financing those roads.
When I grew up in Dallas, the best roads to take were always the toll roads. They were clean, they were big, they were spacious, and it cost you 50 cents or so to go, 20 miles, and you'd save that much in gas just by the quicker route. Toll roads are the way to go, but they want these big socialized systems that don't work, and then they'll lie to us. Everything's a lie. Take Capital Metro. Only 1 in 9 of those buses runs off natural gas, but they will lie to us and tell us, that everything's wonderful and that we need Capital Metro. Why do we put up with them lying to us?
Keep in mind, Oscar, that everything, all the supposed goods that they give us, whether it be roads, health services, government schools, all the supposed goods that they do for us.
It's done with our money.
Yeah, they first have to do something bad before they can do the supposed goods, and that is steal from everybody else.
Well, I mean,
through property taxes, through income taxes, through sales taxes, all the different taxes.
Here's the thing I have
so
to say,
they're
Jeff.
stealing from everybody. And if you don't want to pay for those roads or those schools, then they'll take your property.
Jeff, we need some taxes, in my opinion. We need some things, but
but it doesn't have to be coercive.
I agree.
This country was founded for the first 150
they are
years
shaking people down.
with tariffs, with trade. The point is, Alex, we don't need a coercive.
Okay.
What we've got now is coercive.
Well, I mean, I'll agree. They are shaking people down, and that kind of stuff is going on. But what I'm saying is that the question is, I'm not saying get rid of all government. I'm saying government is growing rapidly.
Oscar, you still with us? Oscar?
Let's go to the next call. We got to go to the tape in a minute.
Are you still with us?
Yeah, still with you.
Okay, do you have anything else?
No, I think not. That about covers what I had to say.
Yeah, I'm getting some feedback or something in the phone
Appreciate
line.
your call, sir.
Okay,
God bless you. God bless you, brother. Thanks for
Jeff,
calling.
all I'm trying to say is that people will counter you by saying, look at these guys, everything's wonderful, why do they care? They just get up there and yell and gripe. Where are their solutions? I'm not like the media that gives us all these false solutions and tells us everything's wonderful. What I'm trying to say to people is that currently, government status quo is rapid growth of government, and we need to ask ourselves, do we want everything to be government in America? Because that's what it's fixing to be.
Let me mention to you, Alex, if anybody's got any common sense at all, knows that we're right. Because the fact is, as this government grows, the more coercive it gets, and the more so-called programs it does in our best interest, the worse our problems are getting.
Yes. But
it doesn't take a genius to figure that out.
Since welfare and all this, the inner cities have had decayed, crime's out of control.
Since government's taken over the schools,
the crime, the prisons are swelling at the seams, and this is all statistical fact. And then what happens when proof like concealed handgun permits comes in and crime goes down to 20%, some forms of violent crime, in most states where it's tried, in all states where it's tried, just Texas's numbers haven't come back yet, because it's only been about 2.5 years. What do they say to that, or about 2 years? What do they say? They'll never give us the solutions, because the truth is they want more problems, they want more chaos.
That's right. And let me just also mention that the state of Montana recently passed legislation where, okay, we're going to go ahead and go to the, well, let's take another couple calls first. You said 9:40, right? What? Okay, there's your roads.
Yeah,
okay.
They're busy harassing citizens about their grass being 3 inches tall and for health services, but the road that they're out there on has big, giant, 6-inch deep holes, and then you go to the place where they sent the letters from, and walls are falling down.
Well, that's why they need to find this fellow so they can fix that hole.
Yep.
Okay, actually, like you said, it's really just to go to foreign bankers.
You got it.
Okay, Curtis, you're on the air. Thanks for holding, brother.
Hello, Curtis.
Curtis, are you still with us?
Hello.
Is this Curtis?
Yes.
Hi, Curtis.
How you doing?
What's up?
Oh, here several years ago, there is another stupid little city ordinance that this Environmental Health Services tries to put on us, that from our property line to the edge of the road, which is not our property, which is city property, we're supposed to maintain. That's like where I live. There's a street that runs behind my house and several others where my road parallels this street. Well, there's a bar ditch behind my house, behind the privacy fence, and from my privacy fence, where my property line stops, to the edge of the road, it's a good 25 feet. Plus, my property line runs for almost 170 feet. That's bigger than most yards in this city. And
absolutely,
ordinance, they want me to maintain this bar ditch out there.
Well, Curtis, I talked about that, and that's something I forgot to talk about, but I'll talk about it on the film. My grandparents have a nice big backyard. It's got a flower garden in it. It's beautiful. I mean, it probably wouldn't win awards, but it's close. And they got a letter from the services people. This is like 6-8 months ago, and I pretty much forgotten about it. And it said, you will clean out the drainage ditch like 10 yards behind their property, behind a fence. And this is a drainage ditch that the city built. And then they're telling my 74-year-old grandparents to go clean it out, or they'll put a levy on their house.
Well, I got a nice little letter from them here several years ago.
It's slave labor. They're always increasing the taxes. They're always increasing the regulations, and then they don't even do the work. Oh, we're going to tax you.
And what,
take the whole garbage deal. Take the whole garbage deal.
What's even more hilarious, on the other side of this creek, the city spent who knows how many thousands of dollars beside an open damn field, excuse my language, and they put a drainage pipe underneath the ground, come in and planted oak trees and put a nice sidewalk for the kids to walk down. Then they come across the creek. Then they got to walk on a cow trail up beside my fence, beside this open bar ditch where I found junky syringes, there's broken bottles and stuff. I called them and told them, look, you want that thing cleaned out, you get your happy self down here and clean it out, because I'm not going to...
It's slave labor, volunteerism. Now the new volunteerism means we can't get our bureaucrats to work.
We're going to get to that.
We've got to make you.
I did finally get up with the city, and the city comes by when they're taking their tractors and shredding the areas. They have been coming back here about once a year and shredding this area.
That's right. The solution locally is don't put up with their crap. Let them know you're not going to be their slaves.
And they sent everybody who borders this street that nasty little letter.
Hey Curtis, we got to get to that now, folks. I want you to watch the video because from all indications, it's a good video. Alex, when it was nice enough to go out and with some of our team down here, and get the footage. And
Curtis, thanks for the call.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good
God
points.
bless you, brother.
Keep calling.
Well, my evil right-wing grandparents have been harassed too.
Let's go ahead and go to the footage. Now, it does have audio to it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right off Guadalupe Street. And he lives at 407B West 37th Street, Austin, Texas, 78705. And thank God people like him are still willing to stand up. Now, I was shocked when I met Mr. Ellington at a Patriot meeting talking about lower taxes and less government regulation, bad things like that. And later he faxed me some information that the city is harassing him, the Austin Health and Human Services Travis County Health Department Environmental Health Services Division. So before I talked about it on my radio show and my cable television shows, I went ahead and drove by without him knowing, and I literally fell out of my car almost when I saw it. There's nothing. There's a nice, normal Ford pickup truck. There is a arborist cutting trailer for people's livelihood. And here in this neighborhood, I am just shocked by the simple fact that I looked at some of the neighbors' houses, but they all have good Clinton Gore stickers and things. I shouldn't knock the neighbors. They have piles of junk in their backyard. We went in his backyard, and there's nothing but a stack of lumber covered with a tarp. This is his private property. This is America, and I want you to film the grass here. There's nothing wrong with this grass. It's zero-scape grass. That's what the environmentalists beg us to do. It's cut, it's clean, there's no problem. It's not some millionaire's home, but it's a nice central Austin home that I would be proud to live in. I really like the way these neighborhoods look. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about how there is selective enforcement. And then I was shocked to find out that Mr. Ellington, Mr. Charles Roland Ellington, has in the past gotten onto the city about some of its out-of-control spending and has been an involved citizen. And so that's something that I find to be very shocking. Mr. Ellington?
Elling's son.
Elling's son? I really appreciate you having the will to stand up to what they're doing. How did this all start, and in your opinion, why are they doing this?
You'll note that the expansion in the blue pages will give you the blues by the volume of increasing phone numbers supplied for city services.
That means harassment extortion centers.
That's about the size of the matter.
So you exercised your constitutional right. You've gone to city council. You've written letters. You've made phone calls, and now you're being singled out and being harassed for no reason.
That does seem to be, I mean, cause and effect reason. It does seem to be prudent.
Well, we're not going to invade the privacy of inside your home, but I was just inside there with you. And you also have a rental property here, you know, your home and another home behind. It's very shocking to me that it's a very nice place, no big deal, almost like a little country house. How long have you lived here?
Since May of 1947.
How dare you, you evil carpetbagger. We've got to get you under control.
Well, see, I'm a grandfather clause before this city usurpation of micromanagement, the cockroach syndrome. The cockroach syndrome of micromanaging all facets of a citizen's life. And that's not American. That is un-American.
Well, how dare you be a hard-working arborist and a person that's engaged in other, I mean, that's just, how dare you?
A bourgeois member. A member of the bourgeoisie.
That's right. Yeah, you're out of control. We've got to stop you. We've got to... So... this little loving letter right here, I'll just read part of it. Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department, Environmental Human Services. That's gangsters calling themselves service agents. 15th Waller Street, Austin, Texas, 78702. If you want to get in touch with them, we'll put up their number during the show. You want to call and tell them how much you appreciate them harassing older, hardworking citizens here in town. Their phone number's 469-2015. That's 469-2015. And their fax is 469-2030, and we'll give that out later. Now, it says, this is an inform you that a condition in violation of ordinance or state law exists on property located at 407 West 37th Street. And you've said you're a tough guy, you're willing, you don't mind people knowing where you live. If they want to come by and see the evil property that you live on, see, I came by before you, when you first faxed me this. And you told me that since then you raked up a few leaves. That's all you've done to straighten up the property. And it's still shocking to me. It's your property. That's not the argument. You should be able to do what you want on your property unless you've signed a homeowner's clause. And as far as I know, over here on 37th, there is no homeowner's clause, is there?
To my knowledge, I don't recall one.
Well, again, sir, how much have you been involved in politics? Why are they singling you out for selective enforcement, as we know the socialists do?
My verbal voice sounds like a frog down at a deep well, and it carries so well they remember it. And gentlemen, the caller ID negates many phone calls where politicians can refuse to answer their phone when your line rings them. Did we know that?
Yes.
They hide under their rocks. Now that's the point of order, because our 49th district, Mr. Elliot Naystat, cannot be contacted me by phone. So I had to go to Mr. Terry Keel's office and relay the situation, so Mr. Keel is apprised of the situation.
But he hasn't done anything.
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
Well, he's got more important things, like becoming the governor in the next, 10 years or so. Okay, now... So you're saying that the politicians harass people with their servants, with their ticket agencies, with their police force, forcing the police to do jobs that they were never meant to do. That's why suicide's so high in police officers, because a lot of them are good people and are tired of harassing good citizens. So you're saying they're hiding behind their receptionist while they go out and abuse the citizens?
That is a good synopsis of my assessment of what they're up to. I mean, up to. And that's derogatory, of course, but they're into criminality, and they're hiding it. It's covert, so they need to be exposed.
Now, wait a minute. This is for our best interest.
A bourgeois property that was once the family's.
Yes, and you said that part of the problem is the arborist vehicle here.
Yes, it costs a fortune to go to the landfill and deposit the contents, a fortune nowadays, and it's going to get even higher, But he just can't go every day. So in other words, it would be an impediment upon his trade for him, to any other heavy restrictions to be placed on him about constantly going to the landfill, which costs a fortune. Monetary, a debit out of his profits. So.
Well, that's really too bad, and again, I'm no friend of the city abusing people, and I just cannot believe that this is a quaint little house and I don't see that anything's going on wrong here. And I'm just absolutely shocked that the city would write you a letter saying that you will mow high grass, weeds, and rubbish and trash and debris, and then it says objectionable material.
Yeah, that's arbitrary, ain't it?
Well,
arbitrary, is that not?
Well, that could be anything they want to, that could be anything in the world.
Arbitrary assessment on their part. They can call it anything they want to.
Well, again, and it says that the Texas Health and Safety Code constitute a privileged lien upon the land or premises upon which the work has been done. That means they can bulldoze your house like they did that one guy.
Yes.
That means they can push you off the land, take vehicles. In other words, it's for the children. It's very, very loving. Again, we'll get some more shots of this nice little central Austin neighborhood after we leave here, and we'll show how a lot of houses have evil morning glory growing on them. Whatever that kind of vine is that called English ivy?
I think so.
That evil English ivy growing over there. I saw your evil cats. You have a couple of cats.
Kitty cats. Kitty cats.
Kitty cats?
Kitty cats.
Are they? Why does a right-winger like you that deserves to have his house taken have cats? I thought only good-loving people.
But he's got a blue eye. She has got a blue eye, and the other one's regular cat's eye.
Yeah, pretty.
Albino.
Well, anyways, it's pretty. You know, again, that's why we are not the corrupt establishment media. We'll admit things. We'll talk about things. We just come out and do our stories. And the thing we find is that so many Americans are afraid to talk about things. And I think this is insane. People are getting their throats slit on the Greenbelt. Women are being raped all over the city. There's carjackings, there's all myriads of out-of-control behavior, but what do you see the bureaucrats instructing the police to do and the city services? To harass older Americans, to ticket people for ridiculous offenses, and just to basically harass the middle-class, hard-working Americans because, hey, it doesn't pay to harass criminals. In fact, criminals are fixing to be on the team. Clinton and his 93 crime bill, and now it's being instituted, they're going to start hiring gang members for mop-up crews, ex-gang members in the inner cities. I think somebody else did that in Germany, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Hitler had many, many programs which are replicated in the United States of America at the current date.
Like taking all the guns away.
That is prerequisite for the communist and other. Communism is a blanket covering all kinds of criminal activity and hatefulness to the society in which you were reared. Meaning you're a dog that bites the hand of what fed you. And that's these politicians. They've been hatched in America.
What you've seen here is some of the shocking information. The city is threatening to put a lien on this man's property. So pretty much what's going on is Mr. Ellingson is being harassed by the city. There's real crime going on all over the place. And when you talk to him on the phone, what exactly, or have you ever even gotten a hold of them? Did they come out here, or how do they even know that you're this great evil in town?
I don't know how they scrutinized the place and looked it over to administer that edict there, issued on the 16th of July of 1997, that I was in violation of state and city ordinances and regulations. That's not good, gentlemen. It's not good.
I mean, even in feudal Europe,
serfdom. Yes.
I mean, people could at least have their own little place. Wouldn't be harassed usually.
Serfdom is what we've got here. I'm an indentured serf to taxations, but that's another time and another story.
Well, they want more. Yeah, they. 52% isn't enough for them. Well, again, I appreciate you having the courage to talk about what's going on in the city. A lot of people are going to say, well, if he did have high grass, he should cut it. Again, I don't even see any high grass here, folks. I mean, this grass hasn't even been cut. It's in a while, but it's real short. It's not a big deal, and I'm pretty much shocked by the way they're acting and they're behaving. But I had some people call in on one of my shows, and I was defending you last week on my radio program. And they said to me, well, if he has high grass, insects can breed. I don't see any insects. Your cats, I didn't see them scratching over there. They look pretty happy. And again, that's not the city's business anyways. But in a minute, we're going to go up and we're going to film city parks with super high grass, other people's homes, government buildings with high grass around them. Why is it that they never worry about themselves? Why is it that the city's always concerned with the little citizens? You know, something that really tipped me off to this is my grandparents, I guess 6, 8 months ago now, got a letter and it said that they have a really nice big backyard. And I went over one Sunday to have dinner with them. And my grandfather said, look at this letter. We're supposed to clean out the creek behind our house or the city will fine us or put a lien on us. And I said, Granddaddy, I said, that's ridiculous. And he, you know, he's a well-off guy. He didn't understand. He was shocked. And the letter said, it was one quite like this from the city Environmental Health Services Division. And it said, but it was a bigger letter, it said, you need to get together with your community and clean out the drainage ditch that feeds into the creek behind your house. This wasn't even his property. Had nothing to do with him. So I jumped over the fence and threw about 10 or 15 sticks and logs, not too big, out of the way, onto the grass back in the creek area. This isn't even my grandparents' property. So the city raises our taxes, creates all these new bureaucracies, and then wants to have us for slave labor to go out and do their work for them. So what we've got here in Austin, Texas, what's gone on with my grandparents and countless other people, it's just the start of more and more of this. No longer is it enough just to tax people at over half of what they earn in some form of taxation. Now the government realizes that we are beginning to understand that this isn't for the people. This is for elitist groups, banks. The money's literally being sucked out of this country to New York, to London, to the Bundesbank in Germany, and it's a fact. $360 billion worth in 1996, just in foreign interest payments. They're harassing the citizens, and this is only the beginning. Bureaucrats are feverish, are hungry to control your life, and they desperately want more control because, like all parasites, they don't like to work. They like to force you and live off what you do. That's the stock and way of their trade. And Charles Roland Ellingson, I really appreciate, again, I've told you this 3 or 4 times, but I do appreciate what you've done, how you're standing up against this ridiculous behavior, and how did you describe the tax system here in Austin and how there's a, you know, the huge city budget?
Well, it's a one-horse town with $1 billion and nearly $1.5 billion with a B, $1.5 billion budget. Where's the money going? It's not going for police. It's not going for street repair. It's going for socialistic, communistic programs, which are detrimental to the continuation of any organized society that has any goals of having any justice whatsoever. There's no justice in them.
So you're saying that there is no common law, basic rule of law. There is no more a man's home is a castle, a woman's home is her castle, is her palace. There is no more basic rudimentary, get off my back, I'm a human being. There is only the group collective for the children. We must harass older Americans. We must find them and bully them into giving us payments and cleaning out creeks that aren't even theirs. And Bill Clinton and Colin Powell get up on TV and tell us we've got to volunteer like AmeriCorps. You want money from the government for college? Well, guess what? You're going to volunteer for 5, 6 years. Well, what does that mean? That's not volunteering. That's the government put you through school, and by the way, when you get out, you go to the collectivist farms, just like in Russia. I mean, that's what we've got is a techno-slavery feudal system. Now, just in closing, why do you think the city is so willing to squeeze and abuse its citizens?
It's like the mountain climber. Why do you do it? Because it's there.
That's right. They can abuse you. They can get together. They control the press. The press is there, always a partner of corruption.
Oh, yes. That's a collusive conspiracy in the matter. That's criminality, ladies and gentlemen. That's criminality.
But there's no such thing as conspiracy. Well, why is there conspiracy to commit murder? Conspiracy to defraud the taxpayers? We've heard that word. There's 1,000 charges of conspiracy because conspiracies real. Why have they taught us, the little serf, to go, nothing has any reason to it. It just magically happens. I just magically get bills in the mail and I have to pay them and the city says I have to do it. And then nobody's there to stand up for us. The universities tell us to lay down and romanticize the criminality of this society. Well, again, Mr. Ellingson, I appreciate what you've done, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to film the Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County, fly on my nose, Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department, Environmental Health Services Division, 15 Waller Street, Austin, Texas, 78702. We're going to go see where just one little sector of, one little covey of terrorists live, and it makes me sick how so many of these so-called environmentalist and people get on board. They need to go out and harass the golf courses or the whatever that are dumping fertilizer in the water, which still isn't that big of a deal. Why are they harassing you? I'm very angry about this, and we're also going to go out and show how the city is harassing people all over the place, and we're also going to show how they have high grass all over the parks and things, 10 times higher than the grass is on your property. I don't see any high grass, and again, that's your business if you have high grass. But of course, somebody's going to call the show tonight and say, we've got rules, we've got to follow rules, you know, it's for the environment, it's for the children, you know, we've got to have order. You could be having insects breeding on your land.
Well, the point is that in Russia, the Nazis that held a concentration camps and the crematoriums, I was just following orders, will not get it. Will not, and that's why Michael knew, as a barb against the president's...
The globalist.
PDD's presidential decision directives, that Michael New stood up and says, I swore to the Constitution of the United States and not the charter of the blasted communist United Nations.
That's right. And folks, communism is real. It is a pseudo-political term to rationalize corruption. But they don't even call it communism. They call it the future. They call it elegant understanding. And they are sucking out the money of all the industrialized nations. They are destroying and raping the third world nations and creating slums that revel hell itself. So now, without further ado, we're going to go out and film some of the loving little agencies around town that are engaged in shaking down the citizens. Stay tuned for more of the Jeff Davis Show. Maybe the fat cat neighbors don't like the good, hard-working neighbors. All right.
Well, you know, is there any...
Sir, can we just ask you a few words?
Sure.
What's your name?
I'm Michael.
Alex Jones, Michael. Do you ride through here quite often?
Every once in a while, yeah.
Well, this gentleman, he called my radio show, and we also have some little TV shows here in town. And I'm familiar with what the city does quite often, and I've been involved with cases like this before, where people own their own property and are law-abiding citizens. This isn't Russia or Nazi Germany, or maybe it is. It says Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department, Environmental Health Services Division. And if you read this here, it says, this is to inform you that a condition in violation of an ordinance or state law exists on the property located at 407th West 37th Street. And then down here it says, please mow and clear high grass. Well, look, he's cleared nothing. This grass is barely even watered. There's no problem here. If you go in the back, there's no rubbish, there's no nothing. And I'm shocked the city shouldn't even have that right. And they say that if he doesn't do what it says, objectionable material, well, what is that? That's a nebulous thing that a bureaucrat can just magically, with a stroke of a pen, with no jury, just abuse people, in my opinion. And then down here it says, if you don't do what we say, there will be a privileged lien upon the land or premises.
What does that mean?
It means that a privileged lien means that they could go to a certain point where they can bulldoze the structure or take the structure for the good of the children.
Because he hasn't mowed his lawn?
Yes, because he hasn't mowed his lawn. That's what it says. Here, please mow and clear high grass, weeds, and remove rubbish, trash, and remove objectionable material. Eliminate standing water. Well, the yard's bone dry. I think the city would love that. They tell us not to water. See, I'm a little bit confused. His yard.
Are we still in a drought?
No, we're not anymore.
We've been in that. Yeah. That drought was big news.
Yeah. But now we're in floods. That's kind of the world works.
Yeah.
So
Barton Creek. Is that that way?
Yeah. So I pretty much stated just the basic facts. Here's the Austin Environmental Health Services Division. What do you offhand think about this? I mean,
well, what are you asking?
Do you think that this is terroristic? What's going on against this gentleman?
Well, I really don't understand the whole picture of what's going on. You mentioned something about the lawn.
Yeah.
Are you asking me whether I think the lawn needs to be mowed?
Well, is that the city's job? There's the lawn right there. Nothing.
I could understand. I mean, if this was being a hindrance to me as a biker or me as a pedestrian, but I don't really see an obstruction.
But there is no obstruction. There's 3-inch grass right here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It would be the city's responsibility if there was an obstruction to me, but it's not. In other words, you know, if I have a tree hanging out of my property onto the alley or onto the street, then it's the city's responsibility.
Yes, it's the
But if you're asking me whether I think this lawn needs to be mowed, I don't think it needs to be mowed.
Well, but this is a bigger question. Why is he, while people are having their throats slit and there's carjackings and every myriad of violent crime, why is the city so obsessed with harassing him? Because he's a property owner.
I don't know. Have you asked the city?
Yeah, they will not return his calls. They say, no, we're gangsters. Don Corleone's told you one time, give us the money or clean up. We'll back to us and we'll say it. Here, I promise. Here, say it.
Take my house if the grass is too high.
So you're his neighbor, and you look like a nice gentleman, and you've got grass that's higher than Mr. Ellingson's. Have you been sent harassing letters from the city?
No, but I'd like to get one.
You'd like to get one. What would you do if they sent you a letter saying, cut your grass and remove objectionable material, whatever that means, or we will put a privilege lien against your home?
I'd have a good response for that.
Oh, what would you say? You tell them to go to hell.
I'd tear them up.
You tell me.
Sure.
I mean, this is America, man. Let's get one quick shot, not of his car, but of the right wing yard that hasn't been cut in a couple weeks.
Oh, God.
Look at that. So why do you think this is happening? You said that your yard guy has been out of town for a few weeks.
Well, we had one, and I guess he's not doing it anymore. You can see
And there's no neighborhood group around here, is there?
No.
So they have no this is your home.
Yes.
I got news for you. If you don't pay property taxes, they'll take it from you.
Well,
right?
we lease it, so.
No, I understand, but the people that own this don't pay all the taxes. It'll be taken. We are in a feudal system now.
Have it.
Hey, it was good meeting you, Surf. I'm Surf Jones. I'm Surf Jones. Okay. Thanks a lot. The right-wing evil one, look at him, watering that overgrown grass. Number one, he's hurting Mother Earth by using water. Number two, he's causing an evil demon problem. We've got to take his property, too. I'm sure there's a bureaucrat that would enjoy that nice home. Maybe that car, too. We'll get rid of that, and only government agents will be allowed to have cars. That's what Carol Browner wants. Oh, and barbecues. Don't exaggerate. She only wants to ban them in some cities. Well, I'm here with Mr. Ellingson again real fast, and he came up and said, hey, guys, I know you're going to talk about this. He came in, and he's got right here the Communist Manifesto, and number one is abolition of property in land and application of all rents of land to public purposes. And that's what they're doing pretty much today in our country. And we've got to ask ourselves, this is not a conspiracy. This is not something we're making up. This is literally happening, and these communists that were funded and backed by big central bankers and industrialists from before the turn of this century, their plan is coming to fruition, and they are literally destroying the free market. Now, finally, without any more BS, let's go out and show you some of the terrorist agencies here in town. Mr. Ellington, I could see that you've lived here, what, since 1947, you said?
May of that year.
May of 1947. And look at these nice trees. It's nice. It's pretty.
Real small when I first came.
You know, and there's pretty English ivy growing here in the trees, and you've got a nice shield around your tree over there to keep it healthy. Boy, you're a right-winger. And I saw your pretty little cats earlier. I could see why the city really, really wants to get its hands on this property like they've done countless others.
Make a parking lot out of it, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, or, you know, get some rent from a good liberal lawyer or something.
Yes, wouldn't that be nice of them?
Something loving.
Yeah.
Well, again, we've seen the right-wing evil. We've seen how much trouble you're causing. I'm sure them sending you these letters saying they'll put liens on your house if you don't comply with their terrorism, whatever that is. I'm sure we're going to all be safe. Women on the green belts will be safe. People in their cars will be safe from carjackers, all because they're harassing you.
Yes, I mean, it's fantastic. Things are backwards nowadays.
Well, we were leaving Mr. Ellingson's place in less than 150 feet from where he lives, right in the middle of the street, some giant potholes. There's some behind us and some in front of us. Let's drive up here back and look at them. See, the city won't even wipe its own nose, but it'll abuse older people in town and force them, terrorize them into giving them more money for their bureaucrat behavior. See, all the money is going for bureaucrat salaries. It's not going to actually do the work of the city. Now they have to force us to do everything. Here, let's see the loving potholes. Right here, folks, on the Jeff Davis Show. Here we are, just right down the road again, and look, they're telling him to mow his yard when his grass is 3 inches high, and he hasn't mowed it, when this kind of stuff's going on. About a 6-inch deep pothole. And there's more down here. So ask yourselves,
What kind of country is this? Well, that's the truth of it. All they do is harass the citizens, push the people around. We're losing more and more of our personal rights, and they're making despotic inroads into private property, while at the same time not taking care of the essential services. You see, they dangle essential services in front of your head. Oh, you want the potholes filled? Oh, you want the EMS to have radios, don't you? See, they pay for the essentials last and pay for all their greed and strange bureaucratic behavior first. This isn't an attack at your average bureaucrats, government workers. I'm talking about the people that are under the control of our federal government that want to pay homage to them. In fact, that pothole could hurt somebody. We need to find out who's in charge of filling potholes. I don't mean the person that actually does it, but whoever's in the city, and they need to have their home taken, just like they're threatening Mr. Ellingson down the street. Here's the neighbor. I'm Alex Jones out here with the Jeff Davis Show, and we just showed you that huge 6-inch deep pothole. There's a whole bunch of little potholes, one there, one here. But again, the city's busy harassing nice citizens. And then I remembered something. My mother, years ago, me and her came down here to see the Christmas tree lights. This is the street. I had totally forgotten that 37th Street here in Austin, Texas, is the street right off Guadalupe where they have the Christmas tree lights that everybody likes to come see so much. And I don't know if you can see it out here, but there's Christmas tree lights hanging from the trees and all over the place, and over there's a whole bunch of Christmas tree lights. These citizens have been harassed before. So, my gosh, this 7th Street right off Guadalupe, and I just remember the old man who's being harassed here and being told to cut his grass or his home will be taken. Well, look what else there is. Evil right-wing Christmas tree lights. Why, there's some of the demonic creatures now. This street is obviously out of control and must be brought underfoot, under heel now. God, our city's incredible, folks. Doesn't care about crime, but it sure cares about Christmas tree lights and old people's yards. Look at all those Christmas tree lights over there. How evil. How out of control. That's enough. Let's go. Well, out here in Austin, we're seeing some incredible things. The neighbors are all coming out and are infuriated, not at us, but with what the city's doing. And they say they're always being pressured around here. What you've got is a typical good Austin community here. Some really nice houses, some run-down houses, some in-between houses. You know, they have their own Christmas tree lights. Christmas, everybody comes down here and checks it out. I didn't even notice it until we'd already gotten down here that I've come down here many times to see their lights. They've been harassed by the city on that. The city won't fix their potholes, and now they're harassing the elderly residents. And there's almost like a community meeting going on down here. Why don't you get that real fast? Well, it just broke up. 2 people there, another guy, a lady was out talking to him. 3 other people down the street are down there talking. They all come up to us. We show them the city letter from the Caring Environmental Health Services Division, and they get infuriated. Let's go to the heart of this problem that's abusing us. See, if people just know about the abuse, they get angry. Let's put on VR in Austin, Texas, and there it is. At a few businesses here in town, which I have no problem with. Look at them. They're engaged in right-wing behavior. Weeds on the road and cactuses and bushes too. Uncut, untrimmed, objectionable material. Why? We've got the city's little piece of paper right here. Objectionable. Whatever they want to say. Oh, there's the park. Lots of tall, uncontrolled grass. Look, city property with wild weeds. Oh my gosh. We've got to take their property away. We've got to do it. Here we are at the loving, caring city. Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department, Environmental Health Services Division, down here on 15th Waller Street. And look at all the weeds over there. Look, it's worse than, much, much worse than Mr. Ellingson's ever was. I mean, look at it. Tall weeds all growing over there. He had morning glory and English ivy growing. They got some kind of weird crawling vine that's a weed. Oh, look right there. Oh, it's horrible. There's actually some weeds. Oh, 5-inch tall grass. No, down by that tree right there. Here, I'll go down the window. You ready? Oh my God, look. Look, there's weeds around that tree and over there by that air conditioner. Over by that air conditioner, look, that's 6-inch grass. Oh, I'm
I'm going to take the city building if it doesn't fix it. We'll have to put a lien against the city building for Mr. Charles Ellingson. Oh, and look at that tree. Look at those weeds right here, producer. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is just the worst. Oh my gosh. Now, folks, I know this seems really stupid, doesn't it? What is the big deal about weeds growing? Much less on somebody's private property. Oh yes, the city's being well taken care of. Look how nice the city buildings are. Boy. Always built nice. You can always trust government buildings to be built nice. Yes, I don't see any flowers growing like there are at Mr. Ellingson's. Ah, yes. Entrance in all different languages. It's American now. We had to stop the tape because we're doing this for rotation. Now we'll get back to the terrible footage of the health department and services that actually sent the notice to the man and said his 3-inch grass was too high and threatened to put a privileged lien against his home. That means they could take his home if they wanted to. Now let's look and see if the pot's calling the kettle black. Here we are down at 15th Waller Street at the actual bureaucrat haven where this is going on.
Okay, here we go. Good investigative reporting, Mr. Jones.
Oh yeah, thanks. Well, your producer did a good job. We'll start it whenever they're ready.
Now, you folks that have been holding for a while, we'll get.
I mean, look at it. Tall weeds all growing over there. He had morning glory and English ivy growing. They got some kind of weird crawling vine that's a weed. Oh, look right there. Oh, it's horrible. There's actually some weeds. Oh, 5-inch tall grass. No, down by that tree right there. Here, I'll go down the window. You ready? Oh my God, look. Look, there's weeds around that tree and over there by that air conditioner. Over by that air conditioner, look, that's 6-inch grass. Oh, I'm going to take the city building if it doesn't fix it. We'll have to put a lien against the city building for Mr. Charles Ellingson. Oh, and look at that tree. Look at those weeds right here, producer. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is just the worst. Oh my gosh. Now, folks, I know this seems really stupid, doesn't it? What is the big deal about weeds growing? Much less on somebody's private property. Oh yes, the city's being well taken care of. Look how nice the city buildings are. Boy. Always built nice. You can always trust government buildings to be built nice. Yes, I don't see any flowers growing like there are at Mr. Ellingson's. Ah, yes. Entrance in all different languages. It's America now. Oh, look. Here we are, 15th Waller Street, at the health building. Yes, this is where little terrorist activities are launched from in abusing the citizens of Austin, people that pay for their homes, like Mr. Ellingson, who's had his home since 1947, owns his home outright. They can't stand that. Look right here. They really are doing a great job here. See, before we did this story, we just came out here. We've never been here before. But somehow we knew that it would be in disrepair and there'd be weeds everywhere. Look right here. Look at this. Weird plants just growing wild. Now, I don't have a problem with that. But why are they harassing this old man that's got 3-foot grass? And I mean, it's a nice old home in central Austin. Look at it. But it's this power. Look at those bureaucrat notebooks and things up there. Think of all the wonderful harassment that goes out of this little mobster building. Little gangster building. Yes, capital city. Nobody does it like the capital city with our over $1 billion budget. Check it out, folks. Here we are, folks, at the health department, the loving health department. And it looks like this place hasn't seen any health for a long time. It's decrepit, it's falling apart, it's potholed and ring-marked. It looks like a third world country. And that's what they wish for all of us. That's what they're into. That's what they thrive on, is dependency and degeneracy. And here we are, here in Austin, Texas. What harassers. How pathetic. I would suggest y'all give them a call this week and raise some hell. It's time they learn we don't want to put up with their big government BS anymore. And here's a message to our new mayor. We don't want your new convention center for $84 million, buddy. You've seen the love of the government. There's nothing like big city kickback construction. Like in wonderful Chicago, that's the firm, what is it, CNH firm from out of Chicago says we need to expand $84 million in our convention center. Yes, and I'm sure it'll be built just like this. Total garbage, total BS. Look at city buildings falling apart. It's only a 20-year-old building. And look over there at the rubble, and they're harassing citizens for having 3-inch grass. That's the most pathetic thing I ever heard of in my life. And look over there, more weeds. What hypocritical behavior. See, what is good for the goose isn't necessarily good for the gander. Because the fact of the matter is this is just a collection site for the big corrupt international banks that are sucking this country dry. Oh, and look over there, more evil right-wing weeds. I guess they're loving. This is a government building. Loving. It's loving if it's government. It's right-wing, evil blood drinking if it's for lower taxes and more personal freedom. Right over there, look at the tires. Oh, that's an environmental hazard. And there's weeds and there's metal that could cut children. Children could play and get hurt in that. Wiring and metal. Children could be hurt. Now, folks, let's go on over here and let's see the back of the building. Let's see them there. Here in the Big Brother Center at 15th Waller Street in this decaying federal building with weeds and bugs hopping around everywhere, 100 times worse. I mean, look at all that stuffing in. Look up there in the building, all those bureaucrat files they've got on us, all the harassment and kickbacks that go on. Lord knows the glee that's engaged in. And business is always booming. There's always an expanding populace of serfs to squeeze and squeeze and drive them into utter submission. Yes, that's kind of their view on things. Oh, but look, there always is a silver lining in every cloud. There's a little birdie living in the government building, so I guess it's okay. It's for the children. Look at this government building. Why, if you zoom in right there, you can see the insulation made out of fiberglass. That is bad for the environment. If you left that in your backyard, you'd probably get a fine from the city for several $100s or maybe another privileged lien. Yes, environmentalism for you, not for them. Loving tires. But that's not a big deal. Look at the fiberglass and metal, garbage and filters, asbestos probably. Oh, it's so right-wing. Yeah, folks, that's what it's all about. I should quit being sarcastic. It's all a double standard. How did we know? I said, let's go out there. And well, here in this letter that I've been referring to so many times from the Austin Health and Human Services Environmental Health Services Division, they say you will please remove and clear high grass, rubbish, trash, debris, and all objectionable material. Well, I want them to remove this trash that fire ants are breeding on, and I want them to remove this trash that fire ants are living all over, and I want them to clean up all these evil cigarette butts that the right-wingers are trying to sell our children, and I want them to remove all other objectionable material. Why? Well, objectionable is objectionable. Look at it. Objectionable. I find that bird to be objectionable. Look, those birds over there, I find those to be objectionable. What is objectionable? It's all these open-ended bureaucrat harassment terms, whatever they can get away with. Well, it's hard to hear me over this high-powered air conditioner. They don't want us to have air conditioners, but don't worry, the bureaucrats will. Look at this tall grass. Total hypocrisy, folks. Total hypocrisy. But that's the name of the game. Folks, the real fact of the matter is, I don't think it's a big deal that there's tall grass over here. That's the point. The city are a bunch of criminal, out-of-control bureaucrats that are squeezing this city into serious problems. That's why so much of the city is growing now outside in Round Rock and places where they have lower taxes. Look right here. Total hypocritic behavior. It's totally hypocritical. Look at that big weed over there. And I love sunflowers. I'm not knocking that, but Mr. Ellingson didn't have anything like that on his property. I don't know what's going on here, but it's better stop. Look all around you. Everywhere you see it. That grass is higher than Mr. Ellington's. Look at it. Scraggly trees, scraggly grass over there. And no, I don't think this is even a big deal, folks, this rundown city building. Isn't that incredible? Look at this. That's enough of that, folks. We've seen the love of the government. Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health.
We're back with Alex Jones. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're a producer.
Investigative report.
Yeah, we kind of, since we've been doing taping this tonight, I'm sorry about the little minute lapse. We're going to put that on replay. Me and your producer already did a great job. And so it'll be in its entirety playing on Access Television. We'll call it something like environmentalist terrorism or something.
Yeah, that'll work.
Look for that in the paper. Or city terrorism.
City terrorism.
So look at it, folks. The place is falling apart. There were bureaucrats sniveling around, but we didn't put them on tape, even on a Sunday. It's just a collection site, a harassment site. And again, Mr. Ellington has 3-inch grass, some dead spots. He's an old guy, okay? He works hard here, trying to be an American. And then you go out here to the city, and there's weeds and trash and fire ants and cigarette butts.
Let me make a point about this, though, Alex. They will use a story like this to create more debt. Oh, yeah, we'll clean it up. And then they'll just steal some more for the slave. That's not the point, what their property
That's right. The city doesn't. The city buildings are only collection sites.
They have absolutely no right to be harassing people.
That's the scary part.
On their supposedly private property.
As more of our budget becomes debt, even city buildings and government buildings are going to fall apart. All the money's going out of the country now, or to Chase Manhattan and Citibank.
Now, we've had some calls on air for a long time. Let's go ahead. You're on the air, caller.
Yeah, I had a quick question. Someone, while that tape was rolling, he said that there was like $1.5 billion city budget.
Well, it doesn't matter what that old guy thinks, okay? Well, what I'm talking about is the simple fact that you just saw the tape.
Yeah, let's stick to the fact.
You go over to Waller Street and see it for yourself. These people are telling him they'll put a lien on his house if he doesn't mow his yard. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? My yard's half dead. And then you go over to where they live, where it's ridiculous. It's total hypocrisy.
That's true. I didn't actually. I wonder if the guy maybe had cleaned up by the time you got there.
No, I drove by there last week.
No, wait, caller. Wait.
It's not the city's business.
You're absolutely. Look, I'm not going to get drawn into what you're saying. The fact is that's communism.
Doesn't matter. It's his property.
This is supposed to be his property, my friend.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And there's no reason for them to put a lien against his property like that.
Needed.
Well, then.
But I was just curious. I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with that property at all.
And even if there was.
Well, if there was stuff, if there was all sorts of garbage collecting up there, and
the city should force. There should.
What is your name, sir?
Are you looking at the
Britain?
Sir. What's your name again?
Britain.
Britain, let me tell you something. This guy faxed me this and said, I've got some lumber under tarps. I've got 3-inch grass. If you saw his grass, it was dead, scraggly grass, higher in some spots, lower in some spots. It hadn't been mowed. It hadn't been fiddled with.
I'll just put it to you this simply, Britain.
No, I was over there last week. I've already talked about this on radio and TV for a week.
Let me put it to you this way. If any government would have 100 years ago sent a letter to one of the people that lived in America 100 years ago, they would have taken that bureaucrat or that politician and had him strung up somewhere outside the city.
But we're going forward
now. You understand that?
Yeah, I suppose it's his private property.
That's right. That's all communism. This government, whether it's city, state, fed, or whatever, has absolutely no authority to tell people how to live on their land.
I'm not arguing that point. I'm just trying to find out exactly what prompted them to come out and write that letter.
Sir, let me tell you something.
Right there. Look at the graphic up there.
They're thugs, okay? They want to bring us under heel and under their control. My grandparents, 6-7 months ago, got a letter saying clean out a city creek. Okay, this happened, and I jumped over the fence not even thinking that I should have done a story because it's my grandparents, and threw the stuff out of the creek. It's a culvert, a concrete creek entering into a creek, 10 yards over their fence, 10 yards past their property. We're talking 30 feet off their land, and that's what it's slave labor. It's the new volunteerism.
The bottom line is they have absolutely no right. This government was never set up.
They don't just want your money; they want your labor now.
This country was never set up to have a government coercively forcing people to act certain ways to do what.
But they hide under the word environmentalism.
Well,
that's the bottom line.
I mean, do they have any proof that there was anything obstructing or anything that was any trash on his
Yeah,
land?
we're actually running out of time, Brett. I appreciate your call, Brett.
Hey, what does the letter say?
Wait a minute, I want to give you a closing statement, but
sure.
let's get to this another caller.
Real fast, caller.
You're on the air, real quick.
Hello.
Hi, ma'am.
Yes, I called you several months ago to do a story on public housing. Well, what I want to tell you tonight is that the city government is meeting with investors to take over a senior citizens apartment complex on Pound Lake, which is called Lakeside.
Call the comment line. We'll come out and do a story.
Yeah, call the comment line.
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
We will do a story. Okay,
There's the comment line. Okay, what I want to say is this. You notice people make excuses for government all day. When are we going to start making excuses for them? I'm not knocking the little bureaucrats. I'm knocking the control apparatus.
Minions.
They're minions. They're useful idiots. And until we wake up and get angry, nothing's going to happen. Now, I've got a show every Wednesday and Thursday night right here on
when's your show, Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. and Thursday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. The Real Spin Exposing Mass Media on
Both
Channel
on
10.
Channel 10.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for having me. And hey,
Ray, I appreciate your investigative reporting, brother.
yeah, and thank you to your producer. You better wake up. This will be on replay. This is real. We didn't cut any of that out. This is very frightening.
Austin, Texas. With that, I'd like to thank...
Look at that. His grass is partially dead.
I'd like to go ahead
the guy asked if we had mowed it. Look at that. It's dead.
I'd like to go ahead and thank my sponsor, KFIT Radio, 1060 AM. And
see you Wednesday, folks.
We'll be back next Monday, and Alex will be back...
Yes, thank you very much, folks.